it's different. Outdrank the coverage, that's the name. For the sports, the food, the whole game. We talking touchdowns in that silver screen. The smoothest host that you ever seen. Roll through on Thursday, 5 p.m. sharp. Let the good time.
You know, I can't really hear much of what you're saying when the intro song is playing.
That's the spot.
Why?
Because it's too loud.
That happy hour hit.
How are you doing, brother?
After the audio and video technical difficulties we had, I'm glad we're on. I'm sorry, everybody, that we're 10 minutes late, but here we are.
What? We said we start at 6. The timer started at 6. We have 12,000 people watching us, and you're wanting to apologize. Where'd your background go?
I kept having audio issues when I put it on, so I just took it off.
Try it again. I think that was with so this has just been one of those couple days. I was supposed to record a high school stuff yesterday, and both the production computer, which I normally use to record, and the laptop, which I use for my information, both are on the fritz. Did a bunch of resets and stuff. The laptop one seems to be fine, but the production computer, I need to figure it out. It's kind of dying. And, you know, to be fair, I've had it for 3 years, and there's about 100, probably 200 videos on it. And so,
Yeah.
It's been a little weird. My camera might go wonky at times because this USB gets weird if it moves, and I tend to move my laptop a little bit while we're talking. But it doesn't not matter because internally the pro, the one time, not 2 time, not 3 time, just 1 time, 1 league, not even 2 leagues. Fantasy football champion commissioner, how are you doing? And what are you drinking?
Well, I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm trying to drink a smoked old fashioned. Right now, I got my old fashioned set up. I got my bitters, my simple syrup, cherries. I'm doing a short barrel whiskey. It's apparently a toasted small batch that's has some information on here for you. Aged at least 4 years. It was born in Kentucky but raised in Atlanta, which I found funny because they couldn't say the city in Kentucky, but they just said Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm going to try to smoke this live.
All right.
But anyway, while I'm trying to do that, Terry, the host, how are you doing? And what are you drinking?
I always seem so ghetto to you. You're like, I'm doing this with the bitters. I'm doing 99 proof watermelon. I'm taking it light today, so I'm just doing 99, a few 99s. Oh.
Okay.
Look at that.
Hey, that went way better than the first time. All right. I still need to bring this over and do it for your vodkas or your 99 proofs or for, studio wife, her Tawaka.
Yeah, I'd love to just try it to see. It's kind of like the pickle phenomenon. Just pickle it.
Delicious.
I'd like to just smoke some Tawaka vodka and see.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all right.
Anyway.
Talk to everybody later. Have a great day. So what we're going to do today is kind of doing some we have an issue where when we get together, we drink before we talk. And so it tends to these shows. I always go back to, and I might play this for one of our shows. I always go back to the Family Guy episode where they think they're doing so great in the variety show, and then Chris is like, "Wait a minute, how do you think y'all sounded?" And so they thought they sounded like 2 great folk singers from the 70s because they were smoking weed. And then when he plays the video, they're like, "That's kind of what happens." It doesn't get that bad. I promise you, they're really fun shows. But sometimes we need to kind of be a little bit more concise. So that's what we started to do today. We've been going over the 90s Super Bowls, a new series we're starting each decade. We're going to rank the Super Bowl winners. Probably at some point rank the Super Bowl losers too. I think that could be fun because I think there's going to be, there's definitely time for the Super Bowl loser in a decade legitimately, like when you think of like a New England who could be maybe the best team of that decade, even though they weren't a Super Bowl winner. But then just like every time we try to do a live show, which I appreciate this, a lot of news has come out over the last few days and a lot of weird news, really, really weird news.
Yeah, very much so. And it all happened within the last day or two. So I'm not even sure where we want to start. Do you want to do the 90s or do you want to do the recent news?
Let's start with the recent news, and we can go from there because the '90s stuff we can always do half of it now and half of it later. And also, for me, it's just, yeah, and we haven't even talked about like this. I'm going to throw this one out, and this isn't got anything to do with football. This has got to do, which I think is just becoming just a phenomenon, sadly to watch, and that's the politicalization of the WNBA right now, with Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark and all of this is I never thought the WNBA of all things would be the political grounds it has become right now. It is fascinating in a sad way.
You might have to elaborate for me because when I think of WNBA, I think a lot of players are kind of mad with Caitlin Clark, which I don't see why because because of her, and a lot of the players don't want to hear this, but because of her, the salaries are in the high six figures. The elite ones making the low seven figures. They have chartered flights. Things are looking up for the WNBA players. They don't have to go overseas to make their money. They can just make a living playing as a WNBA player. So that's the only thing I really know about the WNBA as far as issues right now. But if you want to elaborate on
you didn't see where Caitlin a couple weeks ago she got choked, and that has just created. I mean, that's not the first time. The first true politicalization of this all was Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, them two. And let's be honest, it's literally right down the social demographic lines, and it's been like that. That part has died down a little bit now, but then a couple weeks ago she got. Let me check. I want to make sure I get all the names right, because I don't watch enough to.
Well, I mean, and I agree with you. That goes back to college, Iowa and LSU. Caitlin, it gave Bird and Magic vibes because Caitlin Clark, white person from the Midwest, on a team that shouldn't be in the championship, but they are mainly because of her. And then you got Angel Reese on LSU, a star-studded team. She's a great player, but she's a great player on a great team. And when they met in the championship, it was probably the highest rated women's college basketball event ever. And it was mainly because of that rivalry. And I appreciate it. I like it when it gets a little edgy. And I think the viewers and the numbers suggest that people also agree with that.
So on June 24th, and I'm not going to do the video because if we do the video, we always get called.
Yeah.
But on June 24th, Alyssa Thomas basically, while they were on the ground, kind of did a chokehold on her. Mm-hmm. And I guess the play wasn't really called like it should have been. There was no call in the play. At worst, it was a foul. I mean, at best, it was a foul. At worst, it was a technical too, and probably could have, somebody get kicked out. And that's just kind of reignited this storm because Caitlin Clark, I mean, you watch her play, and she just does not look like she's having fun. Like now, at the All-Star game, it was a little different. You could tell she was having fun there, but just every game, she's having to and I'm not saying she's right or wrong on this. This is anybody listening or watching. This is you can have this opinion, but everything is an issue. She can't get a call. She's always whining about her calls. For the fans of her, they're like, she doesn't get calls. It's not fair. And then for people that don't like her, all she does is whine. And it, again, has kind of started falling on these political sides, especially with Sophie Cunningham doing the now famous meme pointing. And for some reason, she had to come out and say some things about trans athletes. And so now she is the queen of the right. And it's just weird that the WNBA is where this is all happening.
Yeah, it's people will use any platform to be able to just say, okay, WNBA, hey, Sophie Cunningham, she's attractive, blonde hair lady, key member of the Indiana Fever. I can see where conservatives would pounce on that. Just like she's almost like symbolic of. But anyway, like Caitlin Clark, she's a devout Catholic too, so I could see where they would also be about Caitlin Clark as well.
Oh, it was
the injustice of it all.
Yeah, well, it was a big deal though, because Caitlin Clark, for the most part that I know of, hasn't said anything about her political affiliations, but she has been aligned, not her, but the right. And I'm not saying this again. I'm not knocking the right for doing this. I'm just the right. That's their, white Larry Bird. That's who she is to them. They like you said, they picked a side with the Angel Reese thing, and it's carried over. This week at the All-Star game, she was seen hanging out with Obama. And now the right's all like literally like, wait, I thought you were one of us, even though she's never claimed to be anything politically. I don't know. Unless you just truly, truly believe in what you say, right or wrong. I don't care if I agree with you or not. I don't know anybody talks their politics if you're an athlete right now, because you're not going to win 50% of people just simply by what you say.
Yeah, I mean, all these athletes are trying to market themselves, especially the WNBA. They're just now starting to get some significant money, so they're trying to capitalize on that. Doing something polarizing, like declaring your political affiliation, probably not the best of times to do it. Now, when President Obama came there to the WNBA All-Star game, it was a surprise to a lot of the players. They were just happy to see President Obama, whether they support him or not. Is kind of cool. I mean, like, you and I were in a room and we saw former President George Bush. You know, despite whatever you might agree or disagree with, I mean, it'd be pretty cool to be somewhere in the same room as the president, and he's also conversing with you. That's kind of cool.
Speaking of, me and Grant almost ended up on his ranch once.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's down in Crawford, and we were just killing time. Wanted to see, like, Grant kind of knew in the area where it was, and so
not to be confused with former Cowboy guard Crawford Kerr.
No,
okay.
Hey, well played there, sir. But we're driving around, and all of a sudden, like, one SUV gets behind us, a second SUV gets behind us, and then up like 3 roads down, there's an SUV block, and we realized maybe we should turn off. Let's just turn off right now. We're good. That was the same trip. We also went and looked at the Waco Davidian compound.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what we do.
You and Grant.
I want to miss those road trips. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up as an aside, simply because I listen to Bill Simmons. He's one of my favorite podcasters. He's the guy that made me realize we can talk sports and movies, because that's his whole thing, The Ringer. They talk sports and movies and TV and a lot of other stuff. And I have listened to him. He's probably the guy I've listened to the longest. And he was talking about it a couple of days ago, and it just stuck in my head how I never, if you'd have told me, like, I got the NFL, I get why that with Colin Kaepernick, whether I agree with what people said or not, I get why that was a big thing. It's football. There's 100 million people watching. The WNBA, that just felt like a weird hill for some of these people to die on politically.
It could be anything. Politics will do that to people. It just warps their mind, whether it's far left or far right. I don't like it. It's just, it almost makes you feel like the movie Idiocracy is a true account, not set place 500 years into the future, set place basically 20 years after that movie came out.
And the sad thing is both sides will look at that movie and say the other side is like that. That's where everybody's wrong. I'm just saying. That's my point.
100% agree.
Caitlin Clark didn't have a car wreck, as Kyle Shanahan apparently is driving the Tiger Woods style. Actually, this sounds really, man, I didn't even see what you had posted to me about what Chris Sims said, former Longhorn Sims. Him and Kyle Shanahan played at college. They're best friends. And he talked about it. Man, Kyle Shanahan looked like he, averted a major possible loss of life.
Yeah, so he had a head-on collision with an SUV, and this happened. So, like, there's 2 parts. One, he's a head coach for the San Francisco 49ers, great coach. He suffered a lot of cuts. He almost lost his right eye, and then he also got a concussion. And that might be the one that's the biggest issue, because San Francisco, week 1, they have to go to Australia. I don't know if he'll actually be medically cleared to even travel by then. And that's one part. And then the other part is when the public found out about this, which apparently was 11 days after the accident happened, which for you and me, that kind of raised a red flag. Like, why did ESPN just keep this story to themselves? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think this is hard. I don't think we have to know everything about everybody. By all accounts, at least as of now, there was no alcohol, no drugs involved. This just seems like just an innocent accident, an accident that happens. he might be at fault. We don't know. So part of me is like, why should we know? He didn't die. He didn't kill anyone. He didn't lose it, But then also, if someone had that news in a news organization, especially one right now, we can kind of just blend this into the ESPN's laying off a lot of people, and comes out Pat McAfee basically used some insider knowledge to vote to bet on sports. I mean, like, this is a really black eye for ESPN if you're trying to get anybody to believe in you anymore.
And then, the thing is, when I heard about this story about Kyle Shanahan, I was wondering, why didn't they just release it? Because I know the ESPN layoffs would probably be a good reason. There's a lot of transition. And when there's a lot of transition employee-wise, that kind of happens. But they already had an issue with another car accident with one of their employees, Matt Miller, who lost the left arm, but then news reports come to believe that now, oh yeah, he ran a bunch of fantasy football leagues, took a lot of money, never paid anything out.
That is so weird. We kind of talked about that, because I think we did a show the day that came out. We kind of glossed over it, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't really know who he is. Again, I don't watch ESPN unless it's sports. I read stuff, but honestly, outside of a couple of people, I rarely even look at who wrote what I read. My favorite things are the Friday, both beat writers for each team will give their prediction of each game. And then Thursdays, the hot fantasy stuff, I check those out. Anything else, I rarely watch. So I probably read some of his stuff and I just didn't know it. But like, what was the point of keeping the money? Like, I feel like he might have been trying to kill himself. I feel like there's a second layer to this that we don't know, because obviously these are some high value leagues. This isn't like our league where, hey, if you want to put in some money, okay. If you don't, okay. If you win, you don't win anything. These were obviously some like $1,000 buy-in leagues.
Yeah, there's some big money leagues, and he just kept the money. I mean, usually it boils down to greed. He wants to live a lifestyle that his salary at ESPN doesn't give him, but the fantasy football earnings could help with that.
Yeah, he got into debt. That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, probably. That also makes a lot of sense too.
Now, has it been confirmed that ESPN sat on this? Because everybody sat on it then. Nobody reported it. So did ESPN actually sit on this, or is this just something that just got lost in the news?
It's speculation. There's nothing confirmed. It's just an assumption. TMZ didn't say anything. ESPN didn't say anything. None of the other big outlets said anything until 11, 12 days later. So maybe it was just kept under wraps really well. I want to be hopeful and assume that, but part of me is like, there ain't no way like a TMZ didn't know about this the day it happened or a day later.
But why would they keep this under wraps? This isn't.
That's the $1 million question. 100% agree.
I don't think this was a kept under wraps. I think it's a head coach of a football team. While Kyle Shanahan is known to us and all, he's not particularly, this isn't like Rex Ryan. This isn't like Buddy Ryan. This isn't even Jimmy Johnson, someone whose personality is so big that he's one of those guys. Like, if you ask non-football fans who Kyle Shanahan is, they're not going to know who he is.
They couldn't pick him out. Yeah, they couldn't pick him out of a lineup. His success as a head coach for you and me makes us know exactly who he looks like. We know his dad. He has a great head coaching record.
Well, he was at Texas. He was a solid wide receiver at Texas. He's he wasn't breaking records, but he was a guy that made a couple big plays at times. And so I knew of him then. And it was also, that was just a fact, Mike Shanahan's son's at Texas. That was, a little bit of an interesting storyline. So yeah, I don't think this is some big cover up. I really don't. I think this is just a guy that nobody really knows. And so he got lost, and then somebody found it. And now everybody wants to make everything a conspiracy now. And I don't mean you, but I'm just talking about in general. Everybody wants to make everything a conspiracy. And it's simply a guy that a lot of people by the name probably just didn't recognize.
I mean, the next topic we should be talking about, also conspiracy, with the University of North Carolina.
Now, this is I've never liked Mike Lombardi. I'll go ahead and say that right now.
He has a face you want to punch.
Yeah, and he was a guy that did very little and then became a media pundit for a long time. And then he kind of got back into the game, and I guess him and him and Bill Belichick are real good friends. So whenever Bill Belichick went over there, he joined them in North Carolina. He had been assistant to the coaching staff before this. In 2025, his last job had been, as far as not media, had been assistant to the coaching staff for New England for 2014 to 2016. He's had some success. I'm not saying he was like a bad scout or pro personnel director. He helped build a Cleveland team that I still contend would have kept winning if they hadn't, decided to move, and it just kind of destroyed everything. He helped build the Raiders, their last Super Bowl team, even though they got their butts kicked. So, I mean, he's had success, but he's just always, I don't know, he just always rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I kind of never understood why Bill Belichick liked him. I don't know if he was like a yes man, or maybe he was good at one point in his career and it's just not the same. But this news story is still ongoing. But okay, I saw the advertising. There's a lot of theories. Like maybe this is a way to set up for Bill Belichick to leave. These are all speculations on my part. I don't know. I know there was issues last season, Bill Belichick's first season as head coach for North Carolina football. But I really don't think Michael Lombardi is going to stay at UNC. He's on paid administrative leave right now. Some HR complaint. I think it was 2 or 3 people that may file a complaint. We don't know what it is. I'm pretty sure the next time we do a show, we'll have more information. But as of right now, that's all we have.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be like a handsy situation, or maybe he's just a dick. That is really weird. Remember, like it came out last year that Belichick, which I don't know how this works for a college coach if you're trying to recruit guys, but he wouldn't let NFL scouts on campus. That's very common in the regular season. Around Wednesday or Thursday, NFL scouts just come and look at players, and the coach talks about them, and just showcase this guy. Hey, y'all haven't been looking at this guy. He's my tight end and all that. And apparently, Belichick doesn't like that. So he barred them, which I don't understand how that helps him. I really thought he was quietly going to retire. I guess he's at least going 1 more year. And hey, you know what? Maybe he does a Herm Edwards. We all make fun of Herm Edwards at Arizona State. He did get in a little trouble at the end, but he actually kind of turned that team around. Like that became one of our running jokes that year, was they were actually competitive. So maybe he turns it around this year.
I would love to see it. I'm still a fan of Belichick and his career. I think he's one of the most impressive careers in all of head coaches in the NFL or just football in general. He's a student of the game, loves the sport. I want him to do well at North Carolina. And they still have some of the best jerseys in all of college football. So that's a plus for me.
That's the other thing we got to talk about here in a minute. NFL doing XFL 2000s today. Is we had a couple teams announce their new jerseys, their third jersey, their rivalry jersey, I think it's called. Jets did a good job, I thought. Let me pull that up.
That I did not see. I saw the one with the Bills. And I think I told you in our message thread, I love the helmet. I hate the uniform. The uniform doesn't even match the helmet. There's no red or white.
All right. So,
but I'd love to see the Jets. The Jets have had some clean looks in their history. They've had some bad ones too, but they've had some of the better looks.
They've never had terrible ones. We've talked about this before. The Jets, and this is my whole thing on any of this is, hang on. That's not really giving me. Why is there not more? You feel like there'd be more. God dang it. The Jets have 2 good looks. Just flip between them. That's all you really have to do. It's just flip between your 2 good looks. When you have the green helmet, when you have the white helmet. And they actually did that and still did something a little different. Sorry, I'm trying to find. I can't believe I can't find like 75. Okay, we'll just do this. The internet's weird right now. All right, so here we go. Screen share. Instagram. All right.
Oh, I do like that. And well, okay, I'm gonna nitpick. I kind of wish the Jets, the color was the same as the green on the jersey, but I do like it. Like you can see like the word Jets is a little bit darker, but
I think that's on purpose.
Okay. I wish it was up to the same color, but I like it. It looks good. Yeah, that looks great. I like it.
They're going to wear it at their home opener. And of course, they'll wear it a couple other times as well.
So I'm guessing their home opener is a night game.
Maybe.
They should ask the fans to all wear white.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
Kind of like how Penn State does it, the whiteout.
Yeah. Let me see. All right. Now these, I'm like you. I don't hate these. Like, I don't like them, but I don't hate these. Can you see them?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh, I guess I got
the helmet's great. The helmet's great. To me, when I look at that jersey, it's a gray jersey with blue. It's like dark on dark colors. There's nothing that pops out. That's my issue with it. And also, it doesn't match with the helmet. Like, I want that helmet to go with some other.
Yeah, honestly, this was weird. Honestly, this. I'm sorry, you cutting out what?
It reminds me of Boise State a little bit.
Well, I was gonna say it reminds me of 2003 era creative school on NCAA. Like that was always one of the cool looks at the time because the whole gray look was kind of starting to be new, and so more teams were doing that. I don't hate it. I got to see it on the field because there is red in the uniform.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell, but okay.
Okay, no offense to I can't think of who this is, but maybe
probably
not
Deion Dawkins, probably.
Yeah, maybe not the best guy to show the uniform. Just saying. See, I like it when this guy wearing the blue with the blue sleeves. If you use blue or red accents around the gray, I think it can look better.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I just confirmed Deion Dawkins is number 73. Yeah, yeah, dude, it just doesn't pair well for me.
I don't disagree with you either. I think they're one of those. I want to see them on the field. Like, man, I do think that would look good playing, say, New England in their old Reds. That would look good on the field.
That actually, okay. I have to see it, but yeah, I think I agree with you there.
That's why we've always said this about uniform games. It's really hard. It's not just about how the two uniforms look. It's how they look on the field together. Sometimes the same two uniforms at night don't look as good or look better than in day. I always call it the NFC East noon. Every season, early in the year, especially when it starts to get a little cooler, you'll get the Giants in Washington or Philadelphia in New York at noon, and that sun will be bright, and those uniforms will just pop. And then those same uniforms at night, they look okay, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
All right, where you want to go now?
I have a question for you, Terry.
All right.
Now, this is about your mom.
Only for 1,000. Oh, wait, what?
Bear with me.
Uh-oh.
Now, I know you don't like the fact that she is a Washington Commanders fan. Have you ever been compelled to maybe go to your dad's safe, unlock it, get a gun, and take care of the problem?
Wait, what the hell are we talking about here?
Well, as a matter of fact, Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, his son Elijah shot his mother
multiple times.
She's in stable condition. I know we're kind of making light of it, but I'm glad we're all both glad she's okay. But yeah, he's been arrested, could face up to 33 years in prison. I don't know the whole situation. I brought up this analogy just because we're Cowboy fans. Your mom's a Washington fan. So that would be understandable. I'm not sure what's going on here with the Bieniemys.
Is this part of why he has had trouble getting a head coaching job? Maybe there's because people don't realize teams do that. Like everybody, teams talk, and if there's even a coach who likes Eric, but he works with Eric, and he's like, yeah, him and his wife and his son have issues because that's her son. This isn't a stepson situation, and for all we know, we don't have any idea why this happened. But to me, it was the multiple times. An accident can happen. Playing with your gun, being stupid, but multiple times. I don't know. Maybe that's one of the things that's always kind of held him back is behind the scenes. People knew that maybe his family is, volatile.
Yeah. For people that don't know much about Bieniemy, I mean, he played college at Georgia Tech, won a championship, had a solid career as a running back in the NFL for a few years in the 90s. He parlayed that into a successful coaching career. This is his second stint with Kansas City. He's won some Super Bowls with the Chiefs as an offensive coordinator. He didn't call the plays. That was always kind of the drawback. So he left Kansas City to go to Washington. it didn't really pan out there well, and he went to UCLA. Kind of got worse, so now he's back in the NFL, back home essentially. I mean, Patrick Mahomes sings his praises. He credits him with a lot of his early success coming into the league. So I feel bad for the Bieniemys. I have no idea again, like with Shanahan, I still don't know the whole story. And with North Carolina, I still don't know the whole story about that either. So all these are kind of developing news. Yeah, I feel for them, especially when season's about to start pretty soon. He's a huge distraction. I wonder if he's going to have to leave the team for a little bit to deal with this.
That's a good point. I mean, he technically has as their passing game coordinator. That's weird to me that you do that now. I'm not saying it's wrong, which is weird. But passing game coordinator is taking over the offense. As you said, Bieniemy's back as offensive coordinator for Kansas City. I think as long as there's something, and I don't, as of now, nothing from this should keep him from it. I kind of feel like he's the next in line to be the head coach. I think if Andy Reid wins one more Super Bowl, he's out.
For me, I think he'll stay until he breaks the coaching record. It might not be that important to him, but I think he should stay because that Don Shula coaching record, we've referenced this on shorts a lot of times on our live shows. It's almost an impossible record to get because it has to be a lot of consistent longevity. It's really hard to do it with one team. Even Don Shula, like he did it with the Baltimore Colts and more famously with the Miami Dolphins. Andy Reid, I think he spent more time now with the Kansas City Chiefs than he did with the Philadelphia Eagles, but continued success through different eras of football, late 90s to 2026. And it's very impressive how he's been able to step up his game.
Oh, no, I agree totally. Again, he's one of my favorite coaches. In fact, I still right now, I have him and Sean McVay 1 and 2, and you could argue either one is number one, and I'd be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah. The Rams are set up. And my only concern with Sean McVay, I mean, he's only 40 years old, but he's had so much early success, and he's viewed very fondly by the media and players and other coaches. I don't know if he'll stay till he's 45 or 50. I just because he almost retired after they won their Super Bowl in 2021.
Now, he has walked that back and said that he was never as serious as people like. He made a comment, and I think it was more. I mean, I think there was some truth to it, but I also think it was meant more tongue in cheek than people took it. But yeah, I agree. I've said before, he has that John Madden effect. Joe Gibbs, I know Joe Gibbs came back, but he left and went and did racing for 20 years, and he was still very young and still, the team had gotten bad. I mean, he could have easily stepped down from Washington and went to anywhere else in the NFL without an issue. He just didn't want to. And I could see Sean McVay doing that.
Yeah, I'd love for him to coach longer. He's a genius.
And he's fun.
Yeah, he's fun. He's very creative with his offense. I love that he likes running the ball, but he does it very creatively with not really the best offensive linemen, but they're usually good enough. And he's just great at designing plays and schemes. So, I want to pivot to NBA.
All right.
I love this move, but I think a lot of people are scratching their heads. LeBron James signs a 2-year, $8 million deal to basically finish his career with the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm in favor of it because they got Jaylen Brown, they got Joel Embiid, they got Edgecombe, they got Tyrese Maxey, and then they add LeBron to that roster. I think it's a good move. I can see why he wouldn't go to Miami. All they have is Bam and Giannis. It's not a deep roster. They'll be good, but I think LeBron doesn't want to carry the load anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think he wants to play 25 minutes a game. And, sit out second and third quarters. I like it. I think for Philadelphia, they have yet to get to a Eastern Conference final with Joe Embiid, so this will be their best chance. I think he plays 2 years. I will never, ever understand the NBA fandom's hate for guys that move to play on championship teams or to try to win a championship on a different team. People talk about Jordan like Jordan built those teams when that wasn't him, the GM. And it took many years. In fact, it took so many years. A lot of people before they got good was starting to say, should Jordan go somewhere else? Should he go to New York to Boston to the LA Lakers because the Bulls weren't going to give him enough? And then Scottie Pippen, and they made some more right moves. I've never understood why LeBron James gets knocked for that like it's some negative. Like it makes you a lesser player because you want to go to a place where it will be easier for you to win a championship. Isn't that what we want free agency to be?
Yeah, people didn't really knock Kevin Garnett for leaving, or really all the other super Karl Malone for leaving. I mean, back in the 80s, Moses Malone left to go to Philadelphia and got his ring, So
I will say with Malone, though, he was older. I think that was just more seen as a. And again, hang on. Never can remember where it is.
Well, now know
There we
it.
go.
To be fair.
This only started with LeBron James. The decision, that whole thing, how that went, how everybody hated that for what I never understood why.
I think I know why. It's because he had like a whole press conference, like a whole event to make this decision. It's, as an only child, it's the most only child thing you can possibly do. Like, here's me, everybody. Pause your daily life. I have something to announce. Type deal. It's a very only child thing.
Yeah, we eat up, not we, because I don't really like them, but we as a society eat up the high school student doing the hats and having 3 hats and doing the fake, and throwing it away. We're fine with that. But LeBron James, look, I've said it before. I don't know if he's the greatest of all time. I think he's in the conversation. I also think he is the most examined superstar of all time. I mean, we knew of him when he was 15 years old, and he actually became what we thought he could. Same thing with Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper has played so long now, he's looked upon different. He used to be hated because he was brash when he was in high school. His family was brash, and he went out and he lived up to it. And so I always feel that those two are the most their lives have always been looked at by everybody.
Yeah. And then LeBron, he's 6'8", 250. Flies he glides. He doesn't play like someone his size. So everybody just assumes that he's going to be better than Michael. He's going to play selfish basketball when they need him to. But then they see him in the finals and he's like, he'll get you 12 assists, but they're kind of wanting him to get 60 points instead. So I don't understand. I know why there's hate. He's still a great player, but everybody always wants to say, okay, who's the GOAT? Who's the greatest of all time? Is it Kobe? Is it Michael? Is it Kareem? Is it Magic? Is it LeBron?
I've never understood Kobe being in the conversation. I don't get it. I'm not saying he wasn't great. Kobe Bryant.
There's a lot of love for him, and then since he passed, there's the love has grown exponentially.
That's fair. And I get that, nostalgic. He's dead. It's sad. But even before that happened, though, I just think, and this is not a knock. I just think people liked him. They liked how he played. And so they were fine with him shooting 100 shots. That was never looked down upon. He wasn't particularly, even though he got this perception of being, and this is why perception in sports sucks when you look at players like Tony Romo or even Dirk Nowitzki. He wasn't clutch. Even though he actually was statistically, Kobe wasn't clutch. Go look at his statistics. He really was not good having the ball in his hand with the last shot. But he did it so many times that, of course, some of them went and some of them were legendary. And so people think in their mind, oh, he was clutch.
Yeah. And, again, since he passed, you'll really only remember the ones he made, not the ones he missed. So to your point, I agree with you on there. He's still an all-time great, but yeah.
No, I think he's an all-time great. I don't know. I think he's bottom top 10. I don't think he's anywhere in the top 5.
Which that's a fantastic spot to be in. If he was alive today and he heard that, he'd be very happy.
Yeah, I think Tim Duncan's ahead of him.
Mr. Fundamental, very consistent.
The most boring basketball player,
but effective.
All right, where now?
Okay, so we did NBA. Baseball, we're back from the All-Star break. All-time great pitching performance by the American League in the All-Star game.
Dude, absolutely funny how the NL has dominated American League this year. in interleague. Like it's the worst that it's been since they've started everybody playing everybody. Most likely, well, it's most likely the Dodgers, but most likely whoever wins the World Series will be from the NL. And then the AL just absolutely goes out there pitching wise during the All-Star game and just dominates.
If you look at the records, the NL has a lot of teams that have really good records. Milwaukee, somehow they always have a good record. Atlanta's finally healthy. The Dodgers are there. Phillies with Don Mattingly as interim manager, they've kind of rode the ship. There's a lot better teams in the NL. And then you go to the AL, like the Rangers. I'm happy they won today. They kind of roughed up Kirby, which is an excellent pitcher for the Mariners. But I mean, they're only 2 or 3 games over 500, leading the AL West, and they have, I think, the 4th or 5th best record in the American League. It's just been a very odd year in the American League. There's a lot of just meh to bad teams, and then you have Tampa, the Yankees. And thank God for the Red Sox. They had that 14, 15-game winning streak. Now they're back in contention. And then you got the surprising White Sox, who are a year or 2 ahead of schedule, would you think?
Oh, I don't even know if they were on a schedule yet. They were just finally becoming normal baseball again. And it blows my mind how 5 years ago they were one of the dark horse contenders to take the AL. I think it was 2019. And they collapsed, and then they went into, just tore everything down all the way down to the studs, as you say, and have been historically terrible. I think they're a couple years up, 4 years, 5 years ahead, which is a good thing. They've drafted well too. But I will say this, like the Rangers took 3 out of 4 from Seattle. The Rangers have played the most consistent over the last 30 games. They also, I think with the AL, I don't know if they're bad. I think a lot of these teams are just on the same level. Like, I think in the NL, you have your haves and your have-nots. And there's some of that in the American League too, don't get me wrong. But I don't think in the AL, it's as many haves and have-nots.
I mean, there's a lot of teams that are hovering over 500 or below.
Because they're all beating each other.
They're all beating each other. It could just be like a death league where they're all just about the same quality of good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see come the World Series what really happens. But I don't know if there's been a year where it's been like this.
Not that I can remember. I mean, I guess last year too far off in the American League.
It might have been, but there's still a lot of teams that had over 90 wins. Like, I don't see a lot of these teams. There might be 2 or 3 teams that get to 90 wins in the American League. That's going to be it. And that might be a record. That might be. I mean, it might be 2 for all I know. But I remember in '87, Minnesota won their division with
87 wins.
87 wins. It wasn't that impressive, but they had such a great home record, and they had the home field advantage going into the playoffs in the World Series. It was kind of a weird situation.
Dude, they have 2 random World Series within 4 years of each other. So if you look at Minnesota back then from now, oh man, they must have been great. What was that, like a 10-year run? Nope. That was literally the only 2 times they made playoffs. They just, man, at home. Now, of course, now it's come out. Maybe there was a little bit of helping with the AC. I'm not a real big believer in all that because people don't understand how AC works. An AC that big, you're not just turning it on and turning it off. Like, that's not how that works. Those things take a while to really get going and really fill the air. But that's supposedly the thing now is they may opened up some doorways or something. I think it'd be funny if it was true. But yeah, it's just talking about just.
Hey, like I told you earlier, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Exactly. But yeah, it's just so funny how random their World Series were, but they were within 4 years of each other. So you think like they're all, and I mean, they had players that were connected, but mainly being Kirby Puckett. Boy, that's a show, the dark side of Kirby Puckett that everybody's kind of forgotten about.
Oh man, he had such a great image. Such a great image. I was so sad he had to retire because I think he had the glaucoma in the eye or something. And then you hear about like the personal issues. Oh man.
And like he didn't sometimes, and it's always retrospective, but like he didn't even look like he would be that guy. And if you don't know what we're talking about, look it up. Apparently, he was a what do you call that? Relationship violent. I can't think of the word right now. And he beat his wife and his kids and all that. He didn't even look like that kind of guy.
I mean, he had such a squeaky clean image. I thought he was like the perfect family man. I could see him in a photo shoot with wife and kids, all smiling and happy. Like he was the guy you should promote in baseball. Like he should be the poster child. Like he should be the one. Yeah, he was. And winning 2 World Series kind of helped with that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think if it wouldn't have been for the what came out, I think he'd be in the Hall of Fame. Also, Minnesota is famous because it has one of the most underrated sports movies about the Twins in a premise that should not make sense, but Little Big League, where a kid takes over managing. But what's famous about that is not only that, is how many actual MLB players are in the movie, including a bunch of Texas Rangers from the time, Rafael Palmeiro, Pudge Rodriguez, future Ranger Kevin Elster, possible sexual predator Timothy Busfield, which sucks. I really like him as an actor. But yeah, I mean, that movie is actually really, really good, even though the idea is really dumb.
Yeah, the 90s had a generation of those baseball movies, like Angels in the Outfield. And I always forget, was it Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, Rookie of the Year.
The Cubs one?
Arm, yeah. He ends up playing. He's the guy that also ends up in American Pie. And by the way, Rookie of the Year is really funny too. Like there's a lot of subtle humor in that movie if you get past a kid getting the pitch in majors.
Yeah.
Sandlot's the best one.
Sandlot is the best one. I mean, that they set in the 60s, came out in 93. Everybody kind of quotes that. It doesn't matter what age you are. That was a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, I was a high schooler when it came out, and yet I think I was in college when it actually officially came out. Like I think what time of year? But anyway, yeah, because the first time I watched it at Centenary, I was watching a professor's kids. She had 6 frigging kids, 6 or 7. I have to ask Liz. 6 or 7 kids, and they were actually really sweet. No problem with them. And we watched like Sandlot just for that night play like 3 times through because I just liked it so much. That was the first time I saw it. Yet I feel nostalgic watching that movie because even though I grew up in the 80s, it was the same thing. You didn't really do this. We went to baseball parks with friends and played baseball before going to play baseball that night in the little leagues.
So yeah, for me, I lived in apartments growing up, but there was one in particular in Irving. It had a diamond-shaped just grass area, about 100 feet. We measured it because we're big nerds, and it was a perfect situation because I was about 10, 11. There was also a bunch of kids around my age that lived around there. So like, hey, look, let's get a tennis ball so we don't like break anything. Get our bats and just play at this diamond area. There was cars all over the place. And I'm surprised no one like stopped us, but we just almost every day in the summer we would go there and play. And I'd practice my different swings. I usually preferred the Barry Bonds swing where you like choke the bat a little bit.
Oh, I always love the wiggle.
Yeah. It was. So I would always. The wiggle. Yeah, I agree. So we just played there every day, and I always loved that, man. And we had like a rule because it was like there was a light right in the middle of the, I guess, wall, and it was okay. That if you get above the light, that's a home run. If you get obviously anything above that or on the roof, that's also a home run. And I was just easily stronger than everybody, so I was just like cranking home runs every pitch. It was like slow pitch too, and I loved it just because of that. But no, it takes. I say this story because it takes you and I both back to when we were kids, just going out. Playing outside all day. I'm not sure if kids nowadays do that, but for you and me, that was perfect kid summer.
Oh yeah, dude, just having a game that night, watching baseball movies, especially after we got older, where we could drive, have a game at 7. Everybody come over to the house at 4 p.m. and we just hang out, cool out because you don't want to be out in the sun. You know, you couldn't. I lived in an area where you didn't swim before a game. If you got sunburn, you know all that. So we would just go and watch a ton of baseball stuff, whether it be the the Cubs playing, the Braves playing, the Rangers with a random day game, or just baseball movies. Of course, Bull Durham is my favorite sports movie of all time. It just Kevin Costner and everything about that movie just hits the sweet spot for me. But Sandlot's right up there. So you had asked me earlier, just random. We do it if you're first time. Nobody's talking. Oh wait, we do have a chat. Sorry.
Doug DeFrant. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Doug. Yeah. I didn't even realize somebody messes. Minnesota sneaky long championship drought. Yep. Vikings have never won. The Timberwolves have never won. The Twins haven't won since 91. Hey, that all.
Now, I really think with the Timberwolves trading for LaMelo Ball, the Timberwolves might have a shot because that's a really tough team to beat.
That's a tough conference, man.
It's a tough conference, but if you pair LaMelo with Anthony Edwards, that's going to be pretty tough. They already have a great defensive team. You just let them play their ball, their game. That's going to be a dangerous out.
By the way, that's something nobody really talks about. For all the blowhard, the Ball family actually turned out to be pretty damn good at basketball.
Yeah. So the big one was Lonzo, but he's been hurt. I think he's on his way back to playing, and I really hope he does well. But LaMelo has been a stud. He was great with Charlotte for this past year. They ended up making the playoffs. They went on a run to get into the playoffs, but pairing him with Anthony Edwards, that's a game changer.
So anyway, I want to go back to what I was about to say. So you had brought up, we do a thing called Hall of Fame or Hall of Good, and you brought up Sean Jones, who I remember fondly as a player because he was with the Oilers and then famously one of those that signed over with Green Bay. I didn't realize he had gotten so much trouble with the NFL players after that, including former Cowboy Ebenezer Ekebon. So in 2003, Sean Jones violated the NFL League's Players Association regulations in his financial dealings with Ekebon. He was suspended 2 years, but he sued Ekebon, which eventually led Ekebon to bankruptcy. Chris Dishman sued Sean Jones for $396,000. Jones later countersued him and his wife, or Chris Dishman and his former wife, sorry. They settled for out of court. So I don't know if he's liked or not or what by the NFL.
Hey, but for this topic, it's either he's a Hall of Famer or Hall of Very Good. Now let me go through the stats real quick. I didn't know that information. That's crazy.
I didn't either till
Sean Jones
pulling him up.
Defensive end, 6'7". He played from, I believe, 1984 to 1996. He won a Super Bowl with the Packers his final year. He has 1 interception in his career. He has 18 forced fumbles. Very impressive. He does have a touchdown from a fumble recovery touchdown. 113 sacks. Sacks is the sexy stat for defensive ends, edge rushers nowadays, what the new term is. 601 tackles, only 1 Pro Bowl, but he does have, and that was with the 93 Houston Oilers, the team of turmoil. They had a lot of issues on that team, but they ended up getting a 12-4 record, 2 seed, get upset in the division round to Kansas City. Ends his career, gets 5 sacks with the Packers, wins the Super Bowl. I think Hall of Very Good, but the fact that he had 113 sacks and was pretty consistent throughout his career, I could see you saying Hall of Fame.
I think Hall of Very Good, but when you look at him, he's right around J.J. Watt, Daniel Hunter, Harvey Martin, Khalil Mack, Lyle Alzado. I think people forget how many sacks Lyle Alzado had. Justin Houston. I think every one of those are Hall of Very Goods.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I think he had a really solid career. He's a victim of being in an era where there was a lot of stud edge rushers. I didn't even mention Dexter Manley. I think we might have talked to him on another show. He's a guy that had for 5-6 years Hall of Fame career, but it just wasn't a long enough career, in my opinion, to warrant Hall of Fame consideration.
No, I agree. You can make the case for Dexter Manley's bookend defensive end on the other side, Charles Mann. Charles Mann was amazing. Charles Mann at times was better than Dexter Manley. Man, that Washington defense back then, boy, if you didn't get sacked 5 times in a game by them, your offensive line had a great day. I think Sean Jones also gets hurt by the people don't. This was back before you really talked about a guy who could get sacks and play well against the run.
Yeah,
And he also
all around player, kind of like former Cowboy DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
Who, congratulations, won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps playing. He's gonna at least be able to have a conversation of should he be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, to me, DeMarcus Lawrence going to the Seattle Seahawks in 2025 was akin to Charles Haley going to the Cowboys in 1992.
Yeah.
He was kind of the final piece of that puzzle for Mike McDonald, head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, to orchestrate this great defense for the Seahawks that led them to a Super Bowl this past season.
I think another thing that hurt Sean Jones is his last season was the year they won a Super Bowl and he only had 5 sacks. Like he fell off a cliff quick. Or he just, maybe he didn't want to have, I mean, he'd played 13 years. Maybe he was just done. Maybe it was injuries. He started 15 games that year. But the year before he had 9, the year before 10, the year before 13. So he went from 12, 10, 8, 13, 10 to 9 to 5.
So in his defense, they kind of loaded up the 96 season, the Green Bay Packers I'm referring to, with a lot of really good free agents, kind of like the 94 Niners. Veteran presence. They got Andre Rison in a trade. Sean Jones, as we mentioned, Keith Jackson, a great tight end. He probably should be in the Hall of Fame. And then Desmond Howard, like a lot of like good presence. Like for this one particular year, it was kind of just perfect spot for the Packers.
Man, Jackson, he's kind of like Novacek. He played better than his stats, but the problem is the tight end position was starting to become about stats in that era.
Yeah. I mean, he was kind of a victim of it at Oklahoma. They were just a run-only offense. Their only pass receiving option was Keith Jackson. But he was a consistently good tight end. He'll never be in the Hall of Fame, but to me, I think he was still good going up until his last year. I think it warrants some Hall of Fame consideration.
Oh no, I totally agree. I think he was one of the best tight ends of all time. Again, just his stats don't really.
Agree. But another Jackson I brought up to you, Harold Jackson. A lot of people don't know about this guy or talk about him. He was a wide receiver, played from 1968 to 1983, played for several teams, most notably those great LA Ram teams from 73 to 77. He had, let me look this up, 5 Pro Bowls back when they mattered. He had 1 first team All-Pro. The stat that tells me he should be in the Hall of Fame is his yards.
Yeah.
Now think about it. It's a wide receiver that played from the late 60s to the early 80s. He got over 10,000 yards. That should be an automatic qualifier.
No,
but I'll add up.
Go ahead.
I'll add on to that. Like he had 76 touchdowns. He had 579 receptions. To me, he was on a lot of. He was in the playoffs a lot, especially like the mid to late 70s with the Rams. Performed well. I don't get why he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, wide receivers have tragically been held back. I mean, look, Drew Pearson finally got in. Part of it is this is why all pros matter, but you can't get too into it. The all pro is one team. Only 2 wide receivers back then made it. So just because you weren't one of the top 2 that year doesn't mean you weren't one of the best ones of that era. And he definitely was. And his consistency, I mean, you average, this is one thing I love Pro Football Reference started doing. You average out his career 17 game average. Now remember, back then they didn't play 17 games. His 17 game average is 848 yards, 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's solid right now. Back then, should be close to all pro level.
And that's why I was wondering why he's not in the Hall of Fame. But I mean, he doesn't have a Super Bowl. He doesn't have, like you said, a lot of first team all pro selections or even second team. That's probably why. But I feel just because he got to over 10,000 receiving yards by 1983, that's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
All right. Let me get this. Let's have a little fun. So we recorded our 90s Super Bowl, and we got some great conversations in there. We dropped a couple of shorts. They've done really well, but we also kind of just forgot to number some of these. We just would name them and talk a little bit about them, or like with the Rams, we ended up talking more about Trent Green. So we'll start there. These are going to be short. So Doug and all of y'all listening, but Doug, since he responded, this is going to sound like a short, but here we go. The number 6, 1999, blah, blah, blah. The number 6, 1990 Super Bowl winners. I present the 1999 St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. We talked a little bit about before, but of course, Kurt Warner famously steps in out of nowhere, becomes the MVP. They go 13-3. The offensive stats are just absolutely fascinating, but people forget this was a really good defense as well.
They were a really good defense. I don't remember their ranking,
Fourth.
but they were fourth. Oh, wow. So that was like middle of the road, like 11th or 12th, which would have been great, but they were just so fast. 1999 was, as you and I talk about, like there's transition years in the NFL where things just change. 79 is a great example. But 1999, the Super Bowl was St. Louis and Tennessee, which if you look at both of us back in the 90s, that was a shock because the teams of the 90s were the Cowboys, the Packers, the 49ers, the Broncos. Only the Cowboys made the playoffs that season, and they were 8-8. And they got whooped in the first round by the Vikings. So this is just a completely new year for everybody. St. Louis, with a guy that was a bagger. He worked at a grocery store not too many years before 1999. Played in the Arena League with the Iowa Barnstormers. And I think from what I remember as a teenager, he said something to the effect of, because it was tight spaces in Arena Football League, because the field is smaller, it's only 50 yards, he was able to just learn how to be precise with his throws. And that it translated into the NFL, where it's just a much wider field and longer. And he had all these fast guys. They drafted Torrey Holt in 1999. They already had Isaac Bruce. They got Oz Hakeem, kind of like a jack of all trades, but like a special teams ace that also moonlight as a slot receiver. And then they just got Marshall Faulk in the offseason. It was a stout team with the right offensive coordinator, Mike Martz. And I'm trying to remember the big acquisition that no one really talks about now was Trent Green, quarterback for Washington. He had done so well at Washington in 1998. Everybody thought, okay, they might make it to the playoffs. They got him and Marshall Faulk. That offense is going to be great. But he gets injured in the preseason, enters this nobody, Kurt Warner, who I went to his Hall of Fame in 2017, by the way. And then they win the Super Bowl. This is one of the just most randomly great teams that I've ever seen in my life.
You say that right there. I wanted to say this. The 90s, it's so weird. The 90s in the NFL was all about what ifs and teams that didn't quite go as far as you thought they would. 99 Rams, they go back to the Super Bowl. The Patriots famously upset them. They're never back again. 96 Green Bay, they win a Super Bowl. They go back to the Super Bowl. They're never the same. They're never bad, but they're never the same. The Cowboys, team of the decade, but the only team of the decade that didn't at least win 4 Super Bowls. They only won 3. San Francisco could never break through. They only won 1. I guess the Broncos are the one that they finally found that redemption, because they had been to the Super Bowl so many times in the 80s. Everybody kind of given up on John Elway, and then they reconnoiter with Terrence, and everything's different. But the whole 90s is just about teams that shoulda, coulda, and woulda.
That's a great way to sum up the 90s, actually. Teams that shoulda, woulda, coulda. But
speaking of the number 5, 1998 Denver Broncos, John Elway, his farewell team, Terrell Davis. I think I said Terrell. I might have said, I don't know. Anyway, Terrell Davis had his 2,000-yard season. This was when they were dominant. They were 14-2, at least offensively. Now, defensively, they were good, but they were 8th. But their defense came up with plays when they needed to. Bill Romanowski famously played there. That was his last before everybody hated him. Elway on the year, 2,800 yards, 22 touchdowns. Rod Smith, you know about a Hall of Fame guy. Rod Smith, 74 receptions, 1,200 yards. again, Terrell Davis. You also had Shannon Sharp. This was one of the better teams. This team could easily be higher than 5. It's just the top half of the 90s were great.
Yeah, the Broncos, they started 13-0 that season. 4 of those wins came courtesy of backup quarterback Bubby Brister, because Elway got hurt for about a month. He performed well, and they never lost a beat. This is a team that finally decided, hey, we have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Let's give him an offensive line and a running back to complement him. Oh, wait, let's also have some veteran presence along the defensive side. And then you couple that with what you already said. You got Easy Ed McCaffrey. You got Rod Smith at wide receiver, Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharp, Terrell Davis at running back. Unsung hero, fullback Howard Griffith. Great blocking fullback. Terrell Davis, he should have praised him in his Hall of Fame speech, because he's the reason why he's in the Hall of Fame. Howard Griffith was.
Do you think Davis should be in the Hall of Fame?
No, it was. He won 2 Super Bowls. He had a 4-year window of excellence from 95 to 98. I will never deny him that, but it was just too short. He did so much in that short period of time, but again, it was only 4 years. It's the Gale Sayers argument.
Well, and my issue also is with him, and I love him as a player, and the story about him and the migraine Super Bowl is just really, it's a fun story. I mean, not for him, he had a migraine, but you know what I mean. My issue though is once he was done, every other running back kept stepping into that system and having 1,000-yard seasons. I know it wasn't 2,000-yard seasons, but this goes back to the whole talk about Emmett, and people talk about it was only the offensive line. All right, well, then what did Emmett's backups do? What happened when Emmett wasn't in the game? The run game tended to be crap. Like that's one of the knocks against even Aikman and even Irvin to an extent. You could miss them in a game and they win. It was very rare that you won a game without Emmitt Smith. And that's my thing with Davis is he gets all the love for what he did. He brought Denver that Super Bowl. He got John Elway that Super Bowl. He had, like you said, one of the best 4-year runs, but then somebody else stepped in and had 1,000 yards. And then somebody else. And so I don't know, man. I'm just so conflicted. I hate not telling somebody that's in the Hall of Fame they shouldn't be in, but I don't feel like he's a Hall of Fame guy.
It's just the number of years, because I will say he was better than any of those other running backs, than Orlando Scary, Mike Anderson, and even Clinton Portis. He probably should be in the Hall of Fame. I think he was a great running back, but I think Davis at full 100% health was better than Clinton Portis, 100% health. That cut, whenever he finds that lane, it was unmatched. I've never seen a running back that can just do that cut that Terrell Davis does. I wish he played longer. I'm even glad he's in the Hall of Fame, but if you're going to be consistent, 4 years of excellence should not warrant Hall of Fame consideration.
Yeah, I just realized that I forget that 2000 year was literally his last year. Good year.
I don't think he got 1,000, but he probably got like 700 yards
200, 282, and 700 is last year in 2001. Wow.
Great. I mean, you and I are not trying to dog him. He was a great player. Hey, the 98 Broncos, just to get back to what we're talking about, I remember watching how they lost their first game. It was a Giants team that was starting to ascend with Kent Graham at quarterback. They kind of saved their season. I think they finished 8-8, and the big win was a home game against the 13-0 Denver Broncos. Kent Graham leads them to a dramatic win, and then the next week, the Broncos lose to the Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken. Dan Marino's second to last season. And then they just, ride on through. I still remember the AFC Championship game against the New York Jets with Bill Parcells as head coach. Jets were up. They weren't going to win, but they changed they were the number 2 seed. They changed their look back to the 60s look, which is, you and I both love that look. And they were up in the first half, and then all came apart in the second half. But that was, I guess I only want to say this because I really like that Jets team in 1998.
Oh, I did too. I'm trying to look up something. We talked about this before, but they only fun short 3-2-1. One of the oddities of football, John Elway and Dan Marino both played in the same conference their whole career. came from the same draft, basically played almost the same amount of times. They only played each other head to head 3 times.
Oh, wow. That's pretty shocking because both teams are pretty good. And usually first place teams play first place teams the next year.
Twice in the regular season, once in the playoffs. That one time, 1998. But yeah, it's just one of those weird things that whenever Denver and Miami would play, one of them would be hurt. Of course, there was, Dan Marino lost the whole year to an Achilles tear, and I think he lost another good chunk of a year to a knee injury. But it's just weird, especially when you look at like between 84 and 89 when the Dolphins had made a World Series. That'd be cool. The Dolphins had made a Super Bowl, and Denver had made multiple Super Bowls to get their butts kicked that they never matched up in the playoffs.
That's a shock to me because, especially like the early to mid 80s, the Dolphins were the class of the AFC. Made it to the Super Bowl, made it to one or two other AFC title games. I'm surprised they never played.
All right, so let's go to the number 4 best Super Bowl winning team of the 1990s. I think this one could be higher. Again, 1 through 5, if you mix them all up, put them how you want. I have no problem with that, but I present the 93 Dallas Cowboys, of course, famously starting the year 0-2 while Emmitt Smith was out. At that time, a team had never won a Super Bowl or even been to a Super Bowl when they started 0-2. You could make the case if it wasn't for injuries and the holdout, that 93 team easily could have ended up undefeated.
Yeah, if Emmitt Smith played the whole season, they would have been 16-0 apparently because they were 12-0 whenever he started and finished the game.
Offensively second, defensively, and this we've talked about before. The defense never gets talked enough about with these 90s Cowboys, but their defense in 93 was absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, even I want to throw out the Washington game because that was the opening game to the season. It's a matchup of the past 2 Super Bowl champs. You still think Washington's good, even though they don't have Joe Gibbs and a lot of the veterans they had 2 years prior when they won the Super Bowl. And they just donkey stomp the Cowboys on Monday night.
Repeating what had happened to them in 92 to Dallas. So for 3 straight years, that Dallas and Washington opened up on Monday night. We all joke about Chicago or the Giants and the Cowboys, but in 91, 92, and 93, they started Monday Night Football. In 91, famously, Dallas jumped out early and then kind of ran out of gas. 92, Dallas jumped out early and dominated. And then in 93, as you said, Washington. Now, Dallas did jump out early. They had 2 big pass plays to Alvin Harper for touchdowns, but they ran out of gas. And everybody thought, like you said, oh, Washington's back. Here we are. It's their turn. Cowboys had that one great year. They're going to be good, but Washington's back. Now, I remember they instantly became the Super Bowl favorites after that game, and then they just went.
Yeah. Was it Richie Pettyboom? I forget the head coach, but yeah, he was definitely not it. Rippon was still a solid quarterback, but if he didn't have the cast around him, which he did not in 1993, he was just an average guy. They didn't have the offensive line. You and I have talked about this. This is a fascinating subject to me because Washington was so dominant in 91. To me, they're considered one of the greatest Super Bowl teams of all time. And then 2 years later, they're trash. Literal trash. I mean, they're not that good. But after doing my research, I realized 1991, a lot of their best players were in their late 20s, early 30s. And then 93, of course, salary cap is introduced. People leave, and then they also get old. The Hogs, the offensive line, the famous offensive line that protected so many different quarterbacks for a good 10, 12 years, they're either retired or just too old. And they didn't really address a lot of stuff in draft or free agency going into that year or so. It's a culmination of just bad front office moves and players just getting old.
They're starting quarterbacks this year, or quarterbacks that played. One of them didn't start as a quarterback. Mark Rippon, Rich Gannon, Kerry Conklin, and of course, running back Brian Mitchell, who we had a Hall of Famer, Hall of Good short. Kerry Conklin, man, I haven't heard that name in forever.
I know him from Madden 97. The Super Nintendo game that I always play whenever I whip out the Super Nintendo that I bought in 1990. It still works. It's in a box somewhere upstairs, but it still works.
Yeah, you've come over back in the old days in Garland, and we played NWO. We need to do that again. Break that.
Oh yeah, I still have my Super Nintendo, or not Super, the Nintendo 64.
You brought both of them over.
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. You and I were both big into wrestling, and yeah, that was probably one of the. If you like wrestling, that and what was the WWF one? Was it Revenge or No Mercy? No Mercy.
They're the same company, so they play exactly alike for the most part. No, what we played was WCW NWO Revenge. I love it because you can create a player, and you can create belts, and you can create ranking. I mean, it has a very in-depth. Like I'm not joking. That's like 15 years ago. Shit, longer than that, dude. About 15 years ago, you came over when I lived in Garland. We had drinks and just played both of those, but mainly played the NWO and for hours.
You could literally play for days. Just take an hour nap, get back up. Yeah, it was one of my favorite games.
That game was so good for me because that was when that game came out. And I've told you this many times. I grew up watching wrestling and just stopped. Once it got national, like WWF, I just never liked WWF. I never was a big Hulk Hogan fan. I still watched at it. I knew all the beats, but I never really watched it. And then in 97 or 96, 97, whenever it was, NWO started getting good. I randomly watched the broadcast after I got off work in Longview and fell in love with it. And then watched at it for the next year. And then when I went back to college, one of the guys that I went to college with, him and his best friend love wrestling. And his best friend to this day is still Jackson Harrod. He's still like this, loves wrestling, and I'm talking about, dude, back then, 500 videotapes of wrestling, like old the Von Erichs, anything you wanted to watch. And one of the other things he did was he liked the game. And so we'd always go over to his house on Monday nights. And I'd get there after rehearsal at like 5 p.m. and we would game for like 2 hours, order pizza, and then watch back to back the Monday night shows, depending on which one was the one we were more interested in for that moment. We'd watch first. But yeah, I mean that's just one of those core. I hate saying it, but as they say, core memories.
Yeah, I mean that's a good memory. Like people that don't like wrestling, you won't understand, but there was a war between two different companies, and it was great because it brought out the best in both, until it didn't bring out the best in one with WCW.
Well, because they sold to WWF and they screwed them over, basically.
Well, yeah, there's a whole behind the scenes, but yeah, the 95 to about 98 was peak wrestling madness. WWF turned it up a notch with their entertainment aspect of their.
What's that era called?
Attitude
the Attitude Era. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Yeah. It was a lot of characters, a lot of like drama, because they drew off of how do I say this? Like soaps back in the day, like all in the children days of our lives. They went very sports entertainment, emphasis on entertainment. Whereas like WCW, they had entertainment aspects, but it was a lot to do with wrestling.
Yeah, WCW still tried to be a little bit more traditional. Both sides figured out the anti-hero at the same time, because the NWO was absolutely loved, even though they were supposed to be the bad guys. But I always tell people, you don't understand, but the Freebirds in the 80s were that way. The Freebirds. So back then when you had all these wrestling federations and all these areas of wrestling. So in Dallas, the Freebirds were the bad guys to the Von Erichs. But then they would go tape that on Saturday. And then on Monday, they would be in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and they're the good guys with NWA. So they had figured that out. But nationally, you had up to that point had your traditional Hulk Hogan, the Iron Sheik, that's good, that's bad. And it is cool that both of them at the same time found that, hey, with Stone Cold Steve Austin, he doesn't have to be a good guy, but he's going to be loved like a good guy. The Rock, I mean, shit. They basically had to make The Rock and Mick Foley be friends because The Rock was starting to pop so much. They didn't want Mick Foley to lose his pop. So that's when they had their little run where they teamed up, which was brilliant. Some of the best underrated wrestling. I sent you one of those videos from Wrestling Regret. So that's what I loved about that era. It was, now I wish we'd go back to more traditional. Now I do wish we'd have good guys and bad guys because I hate the way they do it now. Two guys just, okay, y'all are feuding this month. You're going to feud for a month and then you're going to do a pay-per-view and good luck. And there's just no story to them.
Yeah. That might be a victim of, like, for example, the WWE might be a victim of just current environment. Now they're a part of a publicly traded company called TKO, which partners with UFC, $20 billion company there, is vastly growing. And, you know, they have the name recognition. So, yeah, I could see where it's very watered down. Yeah. I really watched the product in a long time. I'll watch like old videos because it's like nostalgia, like going back to when I was a kid and I loved it. But the current stuff, there's hits, but there's, to me, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but for me, there's a lot more misses than hits in today's.
Yeah, I don't even know who's champion.
Yeah, I don't know either. I almost feel like nowadays they probably just stick with whoever the older, more regarded star is. So
now, in saying that, apparently wrestling right now is having a good run. Like, it's loved,
which I'm happy with because I get wrestling. Like, I understand the entertainment aspect. I always bring this up. Like, Robert Downey Jr. is an actor. He plays multiple characters in multiple movies. It's the same thing with wrestling. They've already told you how the sausage is made. They've already peeled the curtain back. They have a reality show on Netflix called Unreal. It's actually really good.
I watched a couple episodes. It's pretty good. I just don't know anybody.
Yeah, but like, you know, it's scripted.
Yeah.
So just treat it like any other show. Now, if it's well done,
who cares?
Who cares? It's, to me, if it's well done, it's the best form of entertainment. Outside of athletics.
Yeah, I know.
But like movies, TV shows, reality, to me, it supersedes great movies, great TV shows, just because if the story's right, it's a long running theme, and you get like big plots, subplots, and like little Easter eggs.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah, but if it's well done. But the reason why you and I probably don't watch right now is because they're just doing it to they're doing stuff to just raise the stock price instead of just producing better product.
Yeah, and I just don't like the way storytelling is done these days. And I mean, that's not just wrestling. That's a lot of movies and TV shows. I liked having a story like it used to be. I remember Clouds. It used to be like you would pick two guys, Stone Cold and The Rock, and y'all are going to wrestle. We're going to start you off on the third card of this pay-per-view. And then in two pay-per-views, you're the second. And then you're going to be one of the star, like in November, I can't remember what was that, Survivor Series. Y'all are the number one in Survivor Series. Then we're going to let y'all simmer for a little bit. We're going to bring you back, though, on WrestleMania main event. So you had 6-7 matches. You had these storylines, they work together for all that stuff. Now, like I said, and I know somebody be like, well, that's not right with these guys. But it feels like every month after the pay-per-view, it almost feels like WWE goes, okay, now we're going to have these two big guys. And good luck. Y'all are going to be the bad. Y'all are going to fight for the next 5 shows. We'll never have a winner. And then you'll have one match in the end, that monthly pay-per-view. And that doesn't mean they're not always, it's sometimes great matches. But man, when two guys have worked together 15 times over a year, and then you put and they're good, you put them in WrestleMania, The Rock versus Stone Cold, all of them, you can't beat those.
It must be hard, dude, because I think in 2026 they probably have the best roster they've ever
most
had.
athletic, for sure.
Most athletic, definitely. 100%.
There is not one guy, as much as I don't know wrestling, but if I go looked at the roster, there's not one guy that'd be like, he shouldn't be wrestling. Even during the Attitude Era, there was like 4 or 5 guys. You're like, really? What?
It's like like an almost dead Terry Gordy trying to resurrect his career in the late 90s in WWF.
Kerry Von Erich.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of the legendary Freebirds, and Kerry Von Erich, like you said, he's missing a foot. Sorry,
Anybody,
but this is like the best era. Like, it doesn't matter what size you are, they all can go now. To me, it's very easy. You have a performance center in WWE, excuse me. They can work on their acting, they can work on moves and stuff. This is the best era to have long form stories, and they just crap the bed.
That's a good point. This really should be. You should have the ability to lay these foundational stories. And I know they've tried it, like when you had the Wyatt clan for a little while, but that always felt weird. Like, again, you can't be what you're like today and then also have characters who have bits like they might be supernatural. Even though I like that, me being a horror guy, I like that idea. If you'd have put that in the 90s, holy crap, that'd have been one of the best, like them versus The Undertaker, them working with The Undertaker, all that. But now you're just like, okay, we all know it's a bit. Like, we all know it. You said it best. We know the sausage. Maybe that's part of the problem. Like, we know how movies are made, but you can go into a movie and turn that brain off. We know how plays are made. But for whatever reason with wrestling, if I see a bit character, I just go, it's a bit character.
And I hate that, because if you just suspend reality, suspend your disbelief, just enjoy the entertainment that you're watching, let it entertain you, and you'll love it. But the quality of the product, and for me, I guess from just my experience as a kid watching and loving it, just not there anymore.
I think we need to have a pay-per-view watch party soon. Just you can be at your place, me here, and we'll just both watch it. And let's try to do that, because we did for a little while a few years ago. Like we did it for a little while, like for a good 2-year span. We were
So I'll even bring that back. Yeah, in 2016, it was the year I got back into it, because I was at a bar and I met a bunch of English guys that were, just talking. I heard the accent. I was like, oh, hey, why y'all are here? Is there some big event going on? WrestleMania 32 was in Dallas, in Arlington.
I remember you texted me too, because you literally like the next day was like, I think I'm going to get back into wrestling. And I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. And for like 2 years, man, like I even came over to your house a couple times.
Their passion won me over. I was like, okay. And then it was a perfect storm, because that's when wrestling content was blowing up.
Oh yeah, because you had the other British guy who got in trouble and then came back. I guess he's still around. I haven't seen him in a long time. I unfollowed, but there for a while, you and I had like 20 wrestling channels.
Yep.
You all right?
Yeah, my mouse is messing up. Can you hear me?
Yep. Your mic's not working though. You're going through your studio or your computer mic, which is fine. It's not terrible. You turn it off again?
Yeah. Yeah, I hate that when that happens.
Yeah, it's still not working. But you're fine. You're fine. But yeah, I think we should try it, dude. Let's try it again.
Okay. Yeah, let me know when you want to do a watch party. They have SummerSlam coming up, I think. Usually in the summertime, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's already happened or it's coming up, but it's definitely going to happen soon.
Let me look. Next WWE pay-per-view. And that is one thing. And I know everybody is. Oh, wow. Good call, dude.
Perfect.
SummerSlam is August. Oh, see, and this is there you go. You're back. This is the other thing. I get doing it with WrestleMania, but now SummerSlam is a 2-day event. Make WrestleMania be that's your Super Bowl. I get the 2-day. And by the way, when they first announced that, 4 years ago, I guess it started with the pandemic, didn't it? When they first announced the 2 days, everybody hated it. But then everybody's like, you know what? No, this is actually cool. But don't make SummerSlam do that as well. Like that.
Because you know what's going to happen.
What?
Because it's just going to be all the major ones are going to have 2 days. Because it's more money. Like everything's very stock driven, money driven, and that kind of kills the storylines. It kills the product, in my opinion. And we're just talking about WWE. Like there's another big promotion that was funded by the Jacksonville Jaguars owner Tony Khan.
Is it still big? Like, is it still going good?
Yeah, it's still big. I mean, I know they have big events all over the world. They're heavily funded. They're still on TNT, HBO, TBS.
Is Chris Jericho still part of it?
That guy doesn't age. He's still in good shape. I'm pretty sure if he's not touring with Fozzy, he's probably wrestling. He was one of my favorite guys back in WCW, so underrated, but because of his size, he was never going to be considered a championship caliber wrestler.
I absolutely love Chris Jericho back at WCW. He was the antithesis to the NWO in a good way. Like, sorry.
Well, because I remember he would have like his 1,004 holds, and he like knew the rule book. Like he would like list out stuff from the rule book. He had like a whole like sheets of paper, and then they would cut to commercial. They would come back, and he'd still be talking.
Yep.
I love that. He was so unique at the time because you all have these big giants, and you had this egotistical cruiserweight, big blonde haired doofus just talking and just being an idiot, and I loved all of it.
My favorite, and this is how I know it's my favorite, 'cause I actually remember this. My favorite moment in that era was because they did that multiple nights, and it was multiple Mondays, and it was always like right in the middle. There's always a lull. Even back in the Monday Night Wars, we all pretend like every match was amazing. We saw some shitty matches, and Chris Jericho was a part of some shitty ones, but he would start talking. They'd go to break, and he'd come back. Like you said, one of my favorites is they come back and they shoot Jim Ross, and Jim Ross is eating a hot dog and drinking a beer. He's like, I don't have to talk. Let him talk. And so Chris, like, thank you. And he starts starting it. And then he just reinvented himself multiple eras, including, again, paper, his list. That's what he brought to AEW was that list and all, just, oh my God. It was, again, storytelling at its best. This is why I like, and I love the fact this turned into a wrestling show. This is why I like CM Punk. But I get tired of people claiming that the CM Punk pipe bomb, I'm so glad that's not said anymore. Remember, that was a big thing now. He said a pipe. It was staged. They all act like WWE did not know what CM Punk was going to say. But I appreciate that for one moment in the 2010s, enough people thought it was real. That tells
It was the perfect.
Right?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that it still shows, like you said, if you just can turn off the mind and enjoy the moment, like that was awesome. Even though I knew it was a work, like you could tell it was a work, but it was well done.
They would have stopped him. They would have turned off his microphone. Yeah, they would turn off the microphone if he was saying something controversial. They probably told him whenever you say this, then we'll turn off your microphone. Then you complain. Because I remember I've watched it several times. Yeah, CM Punk wrestler, WWE did independent tours or whatever. He was frustrated. They brought real life stuff into this, but he said, "Hey, look, I got 3 weeks left. I'm gonna probably leave." And they're like, "Okay, just say what you want to say. We want to make things right with you." And he said what he wanted to say. Like he kind of told them exactly what he wanted to say. And they said, okay, you can say this. And then when you get to this point, we're going to cut your mic off.
Yeah, for effect. Not because we necessarily have a problem with what you're saying, but for effect.
Yeah. He's a great speaker. And he's so counterculture to everything WWE. So it worked. He was mentioning people in other organizations in Japan, like good friends, like his old friend, now bitter enemy, Colt Cabana. Like he was referencing all stuff that you never hear in WWE. So it was refreshing, and that's why people thought it was real, because it's something that you never really heard in the WWE.
I've said this before. I know we have so much shit. We always do anyway. I would love for us to start a look back at the Monday Night Wars show, me and you just talking, because I lived it. And it's funny because we're saying part of the problem now is we know how the sausage was made, but that's what made that era so fun. That was the first time the internet had stories, and you started having these, and we didn't even call them podcasts. And I always laugh when people think podcasts started with Apple. I was doing a radio show, or an internet show before podcasts. We called them webisodes, radio web, just whatever. But you started having like Jim Cornette and those from the 80s coming on, and you learned what shooting meant, and you learned what kayfabe was, and you learned all that. And it's funny because now I think it has ruined wrestling, but back then it was so fascinating to hear the stories of Michael Hayes and Kerry Von Erich, supposed to be hated, got seen in a Shreveport, Louisiana cafe, and some fat kid broke down crying because he thought Kerry Von Erich had went bad because he didn't really, he didn't know it was fake. He didn't know they were best friends. And so I love that, but I do think that does hurt wrestling now.
It can, yeah. It does, but it's just up to the audience. If you suspend your disbelief, watch it for the entertainment it is. If it's well done, it's, again, the best form of entertainment outside of NFL.
And by the way, I know he gets more people than us, but there's 12,000 people there. Go to
Thanks for staying on. Yeah. Apparently, they're all wrestling fans.
I guess so. Go to Wrestling with Regret. That's a W and a W. He has great historical stuff, including movies. And that is one of my go-tos, is watching him review Sting's movies and all these other bad wrestling movies. Now, he used to be real big into independent and stuff. I don't pretend to go to his channel a lot. I don't think he really talked. Like, he used to do like every Tuesday he did a Monday Night Raw like recap, and every Thursday. I don't think he does that anymore.
I don't think a lot of them are doing that just because there's someone out there that will do like a 15-minute recap, and that's what everybody gravitates towards. And then they go to these other channels for entertainment. Yeah, historical or entertainment or whatever purposes.
England?
Huh?
What's the guy that you liked from England? That guy?
Oh, Adam Blampier.
Is he still doing it?
He has his own channel. And
yeah, I don't think
it's good because like he can do wrestling and board games. Those are his two favorite things. And he still does his how he would book something.
Yeah, I'm not big into that, but I get why people would like it.
Oh, I love it. It's great because he goes way overboard.
Yeah, I still remember the day that I was at your house and we were kind of doing the whole, I'm back into wrestling, so am I. And I remember you showed me him because he was on that What Culture. And I'm like, oh, that's the board guy. Because I had seen him. Will Wheaton had a great series from between like 2011 and 2014 where
you're not pronouncing his name right.
Will Wheaton.
It's Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. But he had a board game show, and where he would have all these famous people come on. They play like, I was just telling Jenny, we're watching that DTF St. Louis. Really weird show. Don't know if we like it yet. But one of the things is he goes to this board game store, and I was just telling her all these board games, and literally every one of them were on this show, Will Wheaton, and it was fun. That's what they would do. They play board games, and so I just remember that day. You're like, he's a big wrestler. I'm like, what? Holy shit, he's a board game. And then, like I said, he got in trouble by saying some things with some chicks he shouldn't have had. He kind of outed himself like, okay, that's not that big of a deal. But then it turned out there was a little bit more that maybe was a big deal, and he was but I'm glad he came back. I liked him. I'm just not big into fake booking. Same thing with, I'm not big into fake drafts.
Fake drafts?
Yeah, like mock drafts.
Oh, okay.
Like, I like to read them. I like to read mock drafts. I send you mock drafts. I don't care to try to, we do it because it gives us content. And I don't hate when we do it. I have fun, but it's just not something I do a lot of. On the high school side, Matt Stepp, longtime friend of the show, he loves to do mock realignments. Like, he'll do realignment year. And if you don't know, in Texas, every 2 years we realign schools by size. He will do 10 mock realignments. We've never done a mock realignment show because I'm like, I don't want to do a pretend thing. Like, it's not going to happen. So why the hell would I care?
That is a lot of research to do, especially in the state of Texas. There's 6 classes?
6 classes, 300 per class.
Oh my God.
Average, not 100% down. 254 actually back.
God bless him, because I could not do that.
Oh no, he's great at it, I love reading them. And like I said, I send you mock drafts, Cowboy mock drafts. Hell, they will do a mock draft here in a couple weeks for next year, and I'll send it to you. I just like to do that. I just don't want to be a part of it. But yeah, I really would, dude. I've been thinking about this for a while. I really would like to try to get back into a wrestling, whether it be AEW, WWE. I don't know if I want to do both. And I do miss, and I do miss the old name. WWF just sounded better. I don't know why.
Now WWE has been around longer than WWF.
Exactly. That is such a crazy thing, man. 'Cause I remember when that changed. I was like, oh, that's going to end them. Not really.
Well, they had at that point it was what 02. They didn't have any competition because they already bought WCW the year prior. So
it was starting to wind down.
Yeah.
02 to 07. That's when they get into like, and I think people now look finally back at it, but that's the Eddie Guerrero. You talked about soap opera. The Eddie Guerrero, like his wife was his kid, Rey Mysterio was his kid, and in the time, I remember everybody rolling their eyes. I do think now people look back more fondly at that.
Oh yeah, I remember because I was still watching. It was waning down, but I was watching. Yeah. I remember specifically, he got a chair at the little SmackDown entrance ramp, sat down, and read a book. Chapter 1, chapter 2, like talking about Ray's son Dominic, who's now a big time wrestler now. It was hilarious, and he's modeled his look after Eddie Guerrero, which I love because everybody loves Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero tragically died, tragically underrated. I mean, if you can go back into time and keep him alive. You start your federation in 2003 with Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero, and you lived the high line because everybody would have effing loved it.
And it's sad because he got himself cleaned up. It was just a culmination of abusing his body, and finally just had his heart just gave out. It's just sad. He was such a well-liked person.
I think he relapsed. I think I read that he relapsed.
Oh, I just assumed it was just his body just gave out finally.
Dude,
he was only 38 when he died.
By the way, that's something that's impressive with someone like CM Punk. That dude was a straight edge.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's what he said. And from all accounts, there's never been any, I think he really is to be able to do. So it's different now. That's another thing. I think one of the problems with wrestling now is they don't wrestle on the road. They don't do these dark. Okay, so a dark match, folks, is like I've told you many times. I used to go to a bunch, but my favorite one, WCW, NWO, Hearns Coliseum in Shreveport. So whatever happened on these things didn't always count. They weren't canon, or they were extremely canon. Like on a Sunday, you would watch and see Kerry Von Erich beat Ric Flair for the title in Texas. And I mean, everybody from the back, even the bad guys come out and they put Kerry on his shoulders and, oh my God, this is holy crap. And then the next day he'd lose it in 5 seconds to Ric Flair in a house match. And you used to have these magazines that would tell you these matches. That's like I can't think of the guy's name that created the 5-star, 4-star matches.
Meltzer, Doug or Dave Meltzer.
Yeah, Dave Meltzer. So he had a magazine, and I got that weekly. Like I asked my parents for 3 things: Sports Illustrated, so I could see the bikinis, Sporting News, and the Wrestling Mag. And that was the 3 things they always got me. And yeah, I mean, it was so cool to see these dark matches. And they don't do that anymore. You don't see them going to Dallas just to have matches. It's going to be on Monday night, Thursday night, or on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I never went to. So I went to one dark match. Oh well, no one show, like house show, because up until about 2015, 16, that was how they made most of their money.
Yep.
Because that's why they would travel so often. Now they only have to appear for live shows because now it's like they get these advertising deals.
Do they have any road shows anymore? Like
they'll do for like special events.
Well, yeah, like Saudi Arabia. We don't talk about
Saudi Arabia, or if they go overseas to Europe, they're not going to do everything. They're going to spend 2 or 3 weeks because they're going to pack every arena. They're going to overcharge, but people are going to pay because it's hard for them to get to watch wrestling there. and they just watch it on TV. So to watch it there, there's gonna be a premium. So they make buku money out there, and especially Saudi Arabia. That billions of dollar deal they made with them years ago.
Yeah, they don't do any road shows anymore outside of, like you said, special.
It was like a Madison Square Garden. That'd be a special one.
And look, I'm happy for the wrestlers physically, because again, what people don't understand is all these shows recorded on certain nights. So let's go to 1998, because that's when I went and saw WCW. So in 1998, they were on Monday Night Nitro in Atlanta. They were the only ones at that time. They eventually moved around, but for the most part, they stayed on Monday night in one spot. WWE or WWF at the time was always kind of bouncing around. Like they were in Dallas, they were that, but again, same thing. So on Monday, they were on WWE or on Nitro live in Atlanta. On Tuesday night, we were watching them in Hearns Coliseum in Shreveport with no cameras. And again, two of the funniest things I ever saw. One, a guy gets into the ring to fuck with everybody. Everybody beats his ass. And then Lex Luger gets back. Luther gets back on Luger. I said Luther. He gets back on where he was on the ground, because they were doing the traditional, throw him into the ropes, clothesline him, jump over him. And they just redid the jump. And then the other one was same moment or same thing. About 10 minutes later, they're all talking shit to each other. The Giant had just turned. I cannot remember. I wish I remember what Sting said, but he said something that even the Giant said, because he was right next to us. We had aisle seat. He literally said, "Okay, that was fucking funny." And I don't know why, that always just made me laugh, because the Giant's like, "All right, that was fucking funny. He got me there." But I miss the road shows. I think, and again, I'm glad the wrestlers don't have to do that because they get hurt. But I think that hurts the chemistry of the matches. Like, so again, going back to Kerry Von Erich and Ric Flair would wrestle on a Friday in Dallas and another Friday in Dallas on TV, Sportatorium. They always recorded on Friday. They showed it on Saturdays and Sundays. But then they would go around Texas that whole week wrestling every night. And so they had this ability to work together. You could see it, especially when you go, okay, wrestling's fake, and then you rewatch those matches. That's one of the 80s matches I am so enthralled with, because they're either really, really good or really, really bad. And you can see the good ones. You can see where they knew how. Jimmy Snuka and Ric Flair, those were famous matches, because they could go an hour just making everything look great.
I would have loved to have seen that. I always know about like the Ricky Steamboat and Flair matches.
Thank you. Same thing. Actually, him and Snuka. So Snuka was Steamboat before Steamboat. And then when Snuka had gotten kind of older and a little bit of murder and everybody was kind of scared of him, they brought Ricky Steamboat to kind of be the exact same guy. And Ricky and Ric Flair had this famous 3 matches over 3 pay-per-views, and they were so epic. They were so epic you didn't care who won, even though you had your allegiances going into the match.
Yeah.
God damn, man, I want to watch wrestling. Fuck.
Do we have like other 90s NFL teams we need to talk about? Because we went on a 30-minute tangent about wrestling. It's something we don't really even watch anymore.
All right, we're gonna rank. Here's the number 3.
Oh, so we do.
Yeah, we did the Cowboys, 93.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do all of it. Again, if you're, I love everybody here, but God, some of y'all say shit. We ranked all these, and we did a good job on a lot of them. Just some of them we never gave a number. Like the Rams, we didn't put. In fact, like I forgot until I pulled up the list. I'm like, we had the Rams higher than I thought. I thought we had them at 9. But no, let's go to. We'll go to the number 3 best WWE. No, okay. The number 3 90s Super Bowl winning team. The one I hate the most, 1994 San Francisco. God damn, do I hate you, but I respect you. They were fun to watch, man. They were fun to watch.
Now that's all in, because the San Francisco 49ers in 1990.
All in. We're all in with.
I mean, honestly, the 1994 San Francisco 49ers were all in because they got all the free agents, kind of like what the 96 Packers did, but on steroids. They got Charles Mann. They got Ricky Jackson from the Saints. They got who would eventually be the Defensive Player of the Year, Deion Sanders. They drafted William Floyd out of Florida State, supposed to be like a fullback that would revolutionize the position for a decade to come, but
He would've.
injuries derailed that. They still had Ricky Waters. It was his last season with the 49ers. Steve Young won an MVP again. It was such a great constructed team, and they were specifically designed to beat the Cowboys.
Yep. And look, Charles Mann, Richard Dick, he's the one I always forget.
He was still productive in 1994.
Oh, yeah. Again, we're only talking 10 years out from when he was part of the, what the Bears were. First in points, sixth in defense, oddly enough. I think that tells you just more how good the offensive was in that era. We were in an in-between. So you were having to deal with teams like the Niners with a slot who would throw, the Cowboys with a traditional fullback, and then say Houston with a run and gun. You couldn't just build a defense based on one thing. Now, San Francisco was able to with Dallas because you knew that was your Super Bowl. And the reason I don't put them higher on the list is not just because I hate you. It's because you needed Dallas to shit the bed in the first quarter to win that game. I don't think even with Barry Switzer, I don't think that game is won by the Niners if they don't jump out 21-0.
It was an all-time bad first quarter for the Cowboys. Ended up being Troy Aikman's best game ever, in my opinion, the 94 NFC Championship game. Now, some people would say the opening game to the 1999 season at Washington, the overtime thriller, but to me,
still 3 interceptions in that game too, though.
Yeah.
That was a weird game. That's one of my favorite games. That's one of my favorite overtime.
I have a picture of him over here to my left of him in that game.
Wait, it's in the NFC title game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always said that's his favorite game.
And it was a loss. They lost 38-28, but they fought valiantly to get back in the game. The Michael Irvin pass, catch, not catch.
We'll have to do a short. In fact, I've already planned on that. When you come here, we're going to do a short on that. The Michael Irvin fumble was not a fumble. I don't care what we talk about. That was not even a fumble then. He did not have possession of the ball.
Which I don't like to acknowledge that Michael Irvin didn't have possession of a ball, but
yeah, Alfredo Roberts at one time.
Keep going, please.
But no, yeah. So that's why San Francisco's not higher up, talent wise. I mean, you want to talk about just pure man to man? They're as talented as any other team that won a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, it still took Dallas shitting the bed in that NFC title game. It still took Dallas just not for 30 minutes, just not playing well. And then after that, it was, I've told you this story before. I think I said it on the air. I love the guy that I'm talking about actually lives in my town that I live in now randomly. We kind of reconnected. He does woodwork, and he made a thing for my wife for our anniversary a couple years ago, but he's not a big football guy. I mean, he watches at it, but he's not a big football fan. So I went with him to a friend's to watch those two, the AFC title game with the Chargers and the NFC title game. I was the biggest dick because I was so mad. And I was just yelling at the TV, just, you know how it was. And man, I wish I could meet these people to this day and be like, I am so sorry. I know you. I've asked him and he's like, I don't remember. I'm like, okay, good. Because I was a big dick. Like I felt bad. Like, you have those moments you just feel bad about. That was one of them. And I blame them calling a fumble on Michael Irvin.
Justifiably so. You lived through some of the better times of the Cowboys, and then you lived through the 89 season of the Cowboys where they won the 15, new owner, new coach. So I can understand where you saw the lowest of lows. And then 92, you saw the highest of highs.
Oh, I mean, also that was when I, and I've said it before, as I've gotten older, I talked to you about this personally. I coached. I always wanted to coach, and I didn't end up doing in broadcasting. So one year in 2009, I got back into coaching, and I just didn't have that competitive flavor for it anymore. Like I wanted the guys I was coaching to do well, but I really did not care if we won or lost. Back then, I still lived every sport, win or loss. Like, man, Cowboys were only going to lose 3 to 4 times a year, but it was going to be gut punch every time because they were so good. They were going to either get beat by a better team, which didn't really happen, or like 94 Detroit, just get outplayed for that one night and just be like damn it, you got to watch this other team celebrate like they've won a Super Bowl. And Dallas is like, okay, yeah, we're going to lose 3 more of those. We're good.
So going back to the Niners, they lost 3 games that year. They were 13-3.
Oh, we talked
The
about
last game, the last game of the season was Minnesota. Minnesota needed the win to win the division and get into the playoffs. Young played like 3 or 4 snaps just to get the QBR record or pass completion. It was some record he was going for. Anyway, lost earlier in the season to the Chiefs. That was a good quality loss. Former 49er quarterback Joe Montana versus the current one in Young. It was penned in as like the game of the year.
Dude, that was look. So, and the other one we talked about, but we'll talk about again. 2 of their 3 losses had everybody questioning what the Niners were.
Yeah,
that's how important and how good and how looking back, I would have loved the Cowboys to have won 3 in a row, be the first team to do it. I would have loved that. But I also like the fact that 94 Niners won because of Steve Young, Gary Plummer, Tim McDonald, Charles Mann. Even though Charles Mann and Richard Dent had won Super Bowls on other teams, Tim Harris, that's another one we forgot about. Tim Harris came back out of nowhere that year. I love that they won that Super Bowl because if they don't win that Super Bowl, and I know they don't go back again, but I feel like that team just gets completely tore down.
they would. It was all in. It was all or nothing at that point because they
all in.
Hey, and you make a good point because in 1997 they did the same thing, lost in the NFC title game to the Packers. They made it back to the playoffs in 98, but then they just imploded after that. In 99, Young gets concussed by Aeneas Williams, a Hall of Fame cornerback for the Cardinals. He has to retire. And they have a bad year in 99, 2000, and they finally come back in 2001, but they're just good enough to make the playoffs.
And it's just a random because they found a quarterback in Jeff Garcia that, kind of like Dallas finding Romo. Nobody wants to talk about if it wasn't for Romo, Dallas was about to be the Cleveland Browns of quarterbacks.
Oh my gosh. Do we have to talk about Tony Romo?
Huh? Oh yeah. I forgot. I totally forgot.
That was the one story we should have started off this podcast with that.
You don't know Tony Romo got arrested for what they call in Wisconsin an OWI. Basically a DWI. They let him go immediately. And so I was reading, there's some this is something I think he might be able to fight because apparently they don't let you go immediately if he didn't have to post bond. And so I guess there's some maybe they thought something was wrong, but they couldn't prove it. So they just asked him to get off the roads. We'll see. My mom thinks he's going to be fired. My mom also just hates anything that's Dallas. I think it's
again. Do you want to go to your dad's safe?
I'm not going to Eric Bieniemy, my mom.
Get that gun and take care of the problem.
Chris Berman called him.
Who?
Eric sleeping with the Bieniemy.
Oh yeah, no. Eric, my favorite Bieniemy.
I think he switched it because I remember sleeping with because that was a big movie in the 90s, Sleeping with the Enemy. But anyway, I don't think he gets fired. I think if it happens in September, yeah, he probably does. I think they're going to be fine with it.
All right, so let me tell you my theories because OWI, operating while intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 theories.
Oh, okay. I know what you're going with. I want this theory to be so true.
First, it's in Wisconsin. I'm going to say that one because I'm thinking North. Big into hockey. Romo had a couple of beers, went on a Zamboni at a hockey rink, and just started playing around there. But he was acting like a dumbass, and they arrested him for that. My other theory is he just got drunk playing golf because he's a pretty good golfer.
I think that's exactly what happened.
And he was just driving his, little buggy all around the place.
Oh, you think he might have just been in the buggy sitting by the lake? Pissing in the lake.
Whatever it is, I bet it's a good story. No one's hurt, which that's why we can joke about it. But I guess that's kind of hypocritical because I was already joking about the Eric Bieniemy son shooting his wife.
The Bieniemy. Romo has oddly, for a guy who was the quarterback for the most famous team in the NFL, I don't think anybody can argue that, whether you like them or not. Everybody that doesn't know football still knows who the Dallas Cowboys are. We literally just watched something the other day together where there was a random reference to the Dallas Cowboys. He's talking about it was a bad guy and he's a fan of the Cowboys, and we just laughed. He was that. Then he's the number one NFL guy on CBS. Yet we don't really know a lot about his private life after the whole Jessica Simpson Mexico thing. I mean, we know who he dated, but you don't see pictures of him out and about like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I know he dated that Crawford's sister. They got married. They got kids. He's kind of living like a more subdued personal life.
Didn't he date also the other blonde, the singer from that did the NBC Open? Jesus take the bullshit.
Wasn't Pink? Oh, Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, didn't he date Carrie Underwood too?
Probably. I don't know. He was the man for a few years there.
With that hat backwards. How the hell he getting that tang with that hat backwards? That's not serious. Yeah, we'll have to do shorts one day about the over bullshit of the Cabo trip and how that became such a weird thing. Cowboy fans.
Pink Cowboy jersey became very popular in 07.
Also, famously, NFL Network's commercial, the Romosexuals, the fantasy football where she's crying.
Yep.
Famous. I missed that era of NFL. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about. We kind of talked about it a little bit. ESPN, after making $1 billion, decides they need to lay off people. I understand this, folks. This was simply these people make more money. And so we're going to bring in younger people that'll do the same thing that everybody will start to like. And then when they're starting to make more money, we'll get rid of them and we'll bring in other people. Now, in saying that, I do think, and I hate saying this as a white guy, I think Ryan Clark gets too racial at times. I have no problem with him seeing everything through the lens of race. That is a valid thing. But I also think you have to acknowledge that, okay, if you're going to see everything through that lens, sometimes you're seeing things that aren't really there. And I do think that hurt him.
They hurt him for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
One, he's very knowledgeable about the sport because he played the sport. He was a great player for Washington, Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure other teams. Those are the two teams I know he's synonymous with.
You know what his weakness was?
Wasn't it like
sickle cell anemia?
Yeah, sickle cell. Yeah, because he
in Denver.
Yeah.
Tim Tebow.
Right. Yeah, I remember the 2011 playoffs. Denver led by pretty terrible second-year quarterback Tim Tebow.
Probable playoff win, except for Brock Dieter against the Cowboys.
Upsets the defending AFC champion Pittsburgh Steelers in Mile High. I think they were 8-8 that season in 2011.
Won 5 of their last 7 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. He throws a pass to Demaryius Thomas. Rest in peace. Demaryius.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Not because he passed, but because he had such a great career. With Tim Tebow, with Peyton Manning, with Brock Osweiler, like he had great stats without just getting it with Peyton Manning.
Well, one of the things you and I have talked about that everybody remembers 2013 and 14 Peyton Manning, deservedly so. 2015 Peyton Manning, it was shit. He had a noodle arm.
Yeah, and to Brock Osweiler's credit, like he took advantage of that and parlayed that into a big contract with the Texans.
When Houston did that, nobody thought it was funny. I remember going, shit, Houston just got the real deal. Like, I thought he was going to be the guy. I really did. And I would love to have seen him maybe with a different situation there. I feel like he didn't really get a good chance. Again, Houston Texans quarterback situation is weird historically.
I agree. Yeah, Matt Schaub was the best quarterback for a long time. He probably still is the best quarterback. I mean, we're
debatable.
CJ Stroud, but we're only basing off his rookie year because rookie year was his best year, unfortunately. But anyway, let's go back to the ESPN layoffs. ESPN is committed to just paying because the ESPN NFL Network merger. They have to get rid of some talent. It's just be duplication at that point.
Yeah, and that's
I get that point, but like getting rid of goats like Carl Ravitch, Ryan Clark was great.
I liked him. No, I liked him a lot.
Charles Davis.
No, Charles Davis is one I'm sad about.
Hey, he was great.
He
A lot
does
of people love
color.
him. Yeah.
He should get a job again. He is one of the most in-depth, like explains the schemes, everything that's about to happen, everything that did happen without like I thought Tony Romo did that really good in year one, but then Tony Romo has gotten kind of full of himself. Like he does, like you can tell when he's proud of what he's saying. Davis is doing it like a coach. He's just showing like you don't know football, so let me explain this for you. And I love his voice. I love his flow. Like he always gets what he wants in before the next. I think he's very underrated.
I highly agree, and a lot of people that love the sport also agree. ESPN is just committed to paying McAfee his $60 million a year that he shares with his team, but they're not going to tell him to edit anything of his show. He runs it unedited, and then Stephen A. Smith. Those two guys are the big consistents for ESPN because those are the ones that they're the bread and butter.
Well, when did they just put him on a show together?
That break the ESPN internet.
Now, here's the funniest thing, folks.
Right.
We're going to go until we lose people. We still got 200,000. The thing is, the day-to-day views are not big. I promise you. They weren't back in the day. Yeah, we all have memories of watching SportsCenter in 2002 for 4 hours before we went to class or before we went to work and all. But I guarantee you, as someone who's behind the scenes in college and stuff and saw ratings, they weren't getting millions and millions of people. It's just the ones that we all have that same view. We all end up in the same group together. So we talk about it. They don't get big views now. What gets them big views is the sound bites. The what we do. That's literally why we recorded a whole show on the 90s Super Bowl. I'm going to hold that back till Super Bowl week, and I'm just going to keep dropping these shorts because we get more value. We get more money if we're dropping a great 30-second clip over a 2-hour show. ESPN has figured that out, folks. So again, they pay these people till they reach a certain line, and they say, you're good. We paid you too much. We're going to get somebody younger. They're going to do the same thing. Now, I was listening to, again, Bill Simmons. Apparently, Carl Ravage was kind of like, hey, if y'all want to lay somebody off, like, I'm kind of good. Like, I've been here. Like, I've made my money. So I think he kind of stepped into the firing line on that. And I loved him. Just a very consummate professional from those SportsCenter eras.
Yeah, he was very consistent. I mean, I loved him. Charlie Sheen, which I think he's covering the Dodgers now. No, Charlie Sheen. It was a guy kind of bigger with glasses and a beard, brown hair.
Are you talking about the dude that was laughing?
Yeah. The video of him just like he couldn't stop laughing. Let me see if I can find him.
God.
Dodgers.
Yeah, he was
play-by-play.
Steiner.
Charlie Steiner. Thank you.
Charlie Steiner. Goddamn.
Charlie Sheen. God, I'm such an idiot.
He was a Yankees guy forever. Broadcast.
Okay.
But yeah, he was funny. Again, I love that era. I have, again, nostalgic for that era, man. That's right. When I was, between 96 and 2004.
I mean, Craig Kilborn. People know him from hosting a show, but like, no, he was a SportsCenter anchor.
Dude, have you seen Kenny Mayne lately? He looks bad.
Well, I knew he lost his hair quickly, but
yeah, but he went bad quick. Like, he made a big comeback. If you remember when God damn it, what's his name? Oberman. Remember when Oberman came back for a little bit?
Keith Oberman, man. Yeah, I love Keith Oberman.
Keith Oberman, Dan Patrick. One of my favorite shows, Sports Night. I've never got you to watch it. We're going to watch it one day for the show. Sports Night was basically them. That was the whole story. It was Aaron Sorkin before West Wing. It was about a fledgling cable, sports company, and the two lead guys was basically Keith Oberman and Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick's another one. I listen to his show daily. In fact, I sent you a link, something the other day on him. And I don't like Pat McAfee. I did when he played. I thought he was funny in little bits. But then also, that was 10 years ago. I'm not a bro humor guy anymore. I don't like douche bro humor. And that's literally all the show is douche bro humor.
Yeah, I agree with you. That is what it basically is now. But that resonates with 2026 people, youth, if you will. They're looking for entertainment. He provides that in their way, for better or worse. He has a market. It's been working for him. Good for him. I mean, He found the market. He was a punter in the NFL. He
And
was a really
fun to
good
watch.
punter. His best year was his last year. He retired.
He was smart.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. I'm happy for him. And now, like, I see him now. He's trimmed down a little bit, got more cut. Like he has the look now of a bona fide star. And I'm not gonna hate on him. It's just he's not someone I would typically watch.
Yeah, he's just not my thing. And I have to acknowledge what I loved about sports radio in the early 90s was the Ticket here in Dallas. And they're basically the one that created what became Douche Bro Humor. Like, not just always talking football. That's why we do the show we do. I didn't want to just talk football. It's sports, food, movies, and booze. That was the Ticket. And they were the first one that did that successfully. Man, before then, if you listen, sports radio wasn't around. It was only like in the New York Fan. But all they did was literally just talk like three deeps. And, the Giants are got to get rid of that fourth string tackle and blah, blah, blah. And the Ticket comes along and they're having sports talk, but they're also having guys night out where they record everybody at a bar just getting drunk, or they, that kind of stuff. So I have to acknowledge that what I liked in the 90s has evolved into something I don't like now.
Great analogy. I would not have put that together. But yeah, you're right. The Ticket back in the 90s is kind of like what's going on right now.
Yeah.
But I kind of like how they did it back then.
It was
very informative.
Yeah.
But it was just entertainment. It's like WWE, like pro wrestling, sports entertainment.
Yeah, good point. It doesn't. I mean, also like a lot of the stuff. Some of the stuff. I'm not going to claim that I've watched a ton because I don't like him. I started watching when he first started his own show outside of ESPN. But it's like, dude, I can tell your take is being researched by which way you think people will like you, not that's your actual taste. That's one of my issues with Stephen A. Smith. One of my issues with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless was like, I get it. You are two different people, but oh my God, y'all always disagree on every sports talk. No, that's not. And that's why the first thing I've always told you, first thing I always told Grant, like, if we're 50-50 on something, yeah, one of us jump on one side, one of us jump on the other. It leads to good debate. But if you truly believe this, and I truly believe this, I'm not going to change my view just to give us some debate. Like, I think you can enjoy just two guys reminiscing or talking about the same thing approvingly as much as, oh my God, which is each one going to say about LeBron James this week or Tony Romo or et cetera, et cetera.
You really notice it more when Aaron Rodgers goes on the Pat McAfee show because it really comes across that Pat McAfee just agrees with everything Aaron Rodgers has to say. I'm like, even the most dumb people would disagree with some of the stuff he says.
That's a good point. By the way, it seems like he's kind of calmed down on that. I noticed the other day Aaron Rodgers and his family has reconnected. He was estranged from his mom and his brother and his dad. But have you noticed he hasn't really said anything? Like, I don't even think he's been on Pat McAfee for a while.
Oh, I mean, maybe not. I haven't really heard anything. I know he was talking about his wife last offseason. He hasn't really mentioned her this offseason. Maybe she doesn't even exist.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, why he's so secretive? I get you want your privacy, but you weren't private with like Danica Patrick, Shailene Woodley, Olivia Munn.
Olivia sends pictures. You can put it in my butt, mine.
Like it. What? Like what is it? Like,
well,
I just feel like it just makes me feel like she doesn't exist. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it. It just feels like she doesn't exist.
All right. That's so funny. I don't even know who this is. Aaron Rodgers' mysterious wife, Brittany, remains out of the public eye.
Oh, she has a name. I didn't know she had a name.
Has there ever been a picture of her?
I'm guessing plain-looking brunette.
It's this chick. Oh, yeah, there's actually a couple pictures.
Really?
Oh, yeah, there is. Okay. I mean, I was kind of going with what you're going with.
I haven't not heard anything.
Oh, wait, no. Okay, you know what? Okay. I want to show
Are we doing a short?
No. I got it. I might have a little love for Aaron Rodgers now. Look what he posted last year. Oh, hang on, let me screen share. I got respect for this. I got a lot of respect for this.
Cancun with me, Amore.
Now look at her.
Miss.
I gotta admit, dude, I like that. That's hilarious right there. That's somebody leaning into the humor. I give you credit for that, Mr. Rogers.
That just, I mean, someone would have taken a photo of this. So
Well, there is a picture of her. Hang on, let me find it.
okay. I need to.
Supposedly, I don't know. I don't know if this is her or not. I'm not going to pretend that I do.
I won't believe it unless like he brings her on air. Not that he needs to.
So,
I'm just saying, like, why even bring up he's married? Like, what was the whole point of him saying he got married? Because he's so quote private. Why even bring up that he's even married?
maybe because people were.
What, questioning anything? He had dated some attractive women in his career, and during his lifetime, like it doesn't matter. Like he could just be a bachelor.
Apparently, that's her.
Aaron Rodgers secretly tied the knot with girlfriend Brittany with an I a couple of months ago before confirming it. Okay, I guess. I mean, she's attractive. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know how much I believe that, but okay.
But you could make the case that him having the high profile relationships that didn't work made him go, okay. And I will say this, reading some things, I guess, like how, and this is one of the things that we respect about Pittsburgh, how they do things. Apparently he just loved the anonymity. Like, he just got to be quarterback. And so he really, like, a lot of the like I was just reading an article about it. Like a lot of the players were calling him, hey, we want you back. Like, when he was, would he be back, would he not? Apparently, he just loved playing in Pittsburgh because it's the one place that's kind of like Green Bay where he could just play football. He didn't have to have, like, what are you doing this week? Who are you with? And all that kind of stuff. So maybe he's changed.
For his credit, I mean, yeah, I hope he has.
I did too. I always liked him. I mean, I like Brett Favre too, and look what he turned out to be. I hope Aaron Rodgers isn't that bad.
I don't think Rodgers is going to defraud the government and siphon money that should be going to people and kids that really need the money to, his betterment.
I know who he married. He married.
Wait,
Yeah, who he married. He married. What's his name? Notre Dame linebacker's girlfriend.
Manti Te'o. 2012. That was when we all found out what catfishing was.
A blind. Actually, when they finally did that show. It was like the coffee, the McDonald's coffee. You know that story, right? Everybody made fun of it. That was used for years as why we have frivolous lawsuits. And then when you actually listen to the woman and she basically had a vagina fused to her leg, it burned her so bad. It's the same thing with him and the catfish. Everybody laughed about it until you heard the story. And it was an intricate freaking scam. And it was real. And he just, he bought into it. You can't.
There was still a lot of stupidity on Manti Te'o's part.
Naive. I'll say naivety, not stupidity. Naive. Didn't understand how the internet worked. Hadn't watched the show Catfish, which is a really good show, by the way. But yeah, that's who Aaron Rodgers.
Was he like a Mormon? Going to the university of a Catholic school.
But yeah, and I remember in the documentary, Teo said, like, her not being able to see me worked out for me because I was, playing football and I couldn't get away, and so her not being able to hang out didn't ring bells for me because I wouldn't have been able to hang out. So I get it now. I mean, yeah, again, he was still naive, but I get how he was naive. It wasn't as stupid as we thought in the moment.
No, it was pretty stupid.
Wow. You're so all right. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Nothing news wise, but do we have any other 90s Super Bowl champions we need to go back over?
Let's see. I think we did all the ones I wanted to get. 99.
And I'm not even sure the ones we just redid were better than the original ones we did.
No, they were because we talked rankings. They really were. We talked.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We'll do this one. Number 9 best team in the 90s to win a Super Bowl. The end of a dynasty, the 95 Dallas Cowboys. Now, there is a lot about this team that was some of their best. Aikman, 3,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. Michael Irvin had his best season of his career, 111 receptions, 1,603 yards. He broke the record for most 100-yard games. But also, this team was frustratingly inconsistent, getting destroyed by San Francisco. The 4th and 2 with the Eagles, that's its own show in of itself. But they get into the playoffs, they get on a roll, they end up winning the Super Bowl.
It all worked out. This was the year they relied on all those stars: Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman. One of the best years of Jay Novacek, the All-Pro tight end. Probably never be in the Hall of Fame, but he should get some consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Deion Sanders gets traded during the season.
Well, he
They had
signed.
they got signed. No, I mean, not traded. Excuse me, signed. It's not. They had such a great start to the season, and they had a great finish. It was an in between that was just meh. But hey, I still remember the Thanksgiving game against Kansas City. I called the kiss the TV screen game because Michael Irvin makes his best catch of his career, where he's juggling to make a catch in the end zone for a touchdown, and I kissed the screen because it looked impossible in 1995. So I kissed my 32-inch TV at my parents' and house, and they ended up winning a great game against a team in the Chiefs. We thought we would see them in the Super Bowl in a rematch.
Yep.
They might not have had the offensive firepower, but they had the running game, the offensive line, the defense to match the Cowboys, and they clawed back in that game, and the Cowboys just prevailed.
Yep.
But it was so many good moments of the Cowboys in 95, but there's so many bad moments of the Cowboys in 95. And it kind of played out. The season of the Cowboys in 95 played out really well in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Dominated to start. They allowed an inferior team to claw their way back. And then by sheer luck, we get 2 gimme interceptions to Larry Brown right in the breadbasket to seal the win. That Super Bowl, I just thought about it now. I can't even believe I just thought about it. That Super Bowl encapsulated the 95 Cowboys.
I've said that many times to you.
And I did not listen to any of those times.
Yeah. You had one of the most famous onside kicks. Why they're not higher is simply, we talked about why 94 Niners aren't higher is because they needed a break. 95 Cowboys don't win a Super Bowl if San Francisco's in the title game, NFC title game. At that point, the worm had turned and Dallas had the complex of we can't beat San Francisco.
That's a good point because 49ers lost in the divisional round to the Packers, which is a monumental step for the Packers in 95, which indirectly catapulted them in 96 to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
49ers were like them and the Cowboys were the teams of the early 90s. You beat one of those teams, you're destined for greatness. Packers did that in 95. Almost did it to the Cowboys in the NFC title game in 95. Barely lost. But yeah, it was I can see why the 95 Niners weren't considered in that because they were kind of like a streaky team. And the Packers in 95, they had that team. They lost Sterling Sharp, now Hall of Famer, but had a great year from Robert Brooks. And
Freeman.
And Tony Freeman to me was more like 96 and forward, but like 95 again because I played Madden 97. They go off the stats from 95, so Robert Brooks is highly rated in that game.
Levens.
Yeah, and I was kind of funny because like Robert Brooks gets hurt early in 97 or in 96, so they turn to Antonio Freeman out of necessity. They still have Edgar Bennett at running back, but then they had to turn to Dorsey Levens as well.
And they had so many weapons back in the day. Charlotte,
Andre Rison, Shimura, Keith Jack. Yeah, a plethora. And they couldn't even they could barely even score a touchdown on a Monday night game against the Cowboys.
That's why I say that the 90s were all about teams that didn't quite, even though they had success, didn't quite reach what they should have. And I think Green Bay is probably the number one at that. They should have won more Super Bowls. The late 90s, and I even when we did the 95 Cowboys season, I talked about this. Like, man, when they won in 96, I was like, holy crap, they might win 3 in a row. They might become the team of the 90s because they're so young. It's so weird. Both, man, the Super Bowl, the two or the three teams that had runs, being the Cowboys, the Broncos, and the Packers. The Broncos were old and young. The Cowboys were young and young. And then the Packers were like in between that because they had a bunch of, like we said, Sean Jones and people like that they had signed over. And man, I just remember thinking, man, Green Bay might win 3 or 4 in a row, and then they just petered out.
Yeah, because in my opinion, the 97 Packers were better than the 96 Packers that won the Super Bowl.
I agree. 100% agree.
And then 98, that was a great team too. They just lost a heartbreaking game on the road against San Francisco. And they were only on the road because they were in the same division as an all-time great team in the 98 Vikings.
Yep. 15-1. We talked about them. So, you talk about the Niners and the Packers, man, they had a run. I had posted one of our shorts about the 93, and somebody said that the Cowboys Niners, that era was the greatest rivalry run. I think it's up there. I don't know if it's the best because, man, you've got some great ones. You got like the Niners and Seahawks during the Legion of Boom and the Michael Crabtree era. You've got, oddly enough, the late 90s, the Broncos in Jacksonville. But, man, Cowboys and Niners, I think that is the only rivalry that I saw growing up or as an adult that you go, okay, whoever wins that wins the Super Bowl.
Well, especially in the 94 season for sure. And the 93 season, but you had a formidable opponent in the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, definitely 94. Yeah, you figured the NFC title game was the Super Bowl.
All right. I think we're done, man.
Great show. Thank you for everybody that's been listening.
Yeah. No comments other than Minnesota sneaky long championship drought, but hey, we'll go for it. Hey, sometimes I like when y'all talk, sometimes I don't. I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna fucking go to bed. I am so tired. I am hungover, mouth sore. I just want to go to bed.
Mouth sore?
Yeah, my mouth. Told you, my tooth.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been hurting.
When we said mouth sore, I thought I went another.
No, that was you at this pool the other day when we saw. Oh, we didn't talk about seeing Mel Renfro.
Oh,
that was awesome.
We need to do a short on that.
Yeah, we will. I actually planned on. I just forgot. Look, I wanted to go talk to him, but I like the fact we didn't. I like to. I respect these people.
Well,
like
I was waiting for Jenny to like let those drinks sit in. Sorry, studio wife. I'm sorry. I was like, hey, studio wife, you should go talk to him.
it did seem like his wife was wanting us to.
Yeah.
Just kept talking about, who that is, right? And I remember, like I said, it's like, okay, he looks familiar. I will say it was a little weird seeing a guy who played for the Cowboys in the 70s wearing a Dallas Cowboys t-shirt like that. That was not weird in a bad way. That's not what I would think any former player would actually wear.
Yeah, because like, hey, look at me. Look who I am.
Yeah.
And then he doubled down and also had the Pro Football Hall of Fame hat.
I respect that. That's pretty cool. Just want to remind everybody, motherfuckers. All right, man. That's going to do it for this show. We're going to be getting together Friday. Now, this won't come out immediately, but we're going to record. We're going to watch all 11 episodes of Playmakers on Friday. It's about 8 hours, and we're going to record it in one show. We're going to watch it. Now, I have the DVD, but we're actually just going to watch it on YouTube because they have a 4K up, and I don't even have a DVD player. Like, I have an Xbox somewhere, but I don't even know where all the connections are. So, but we're going to watch all 11 episodes, and then we're going to put that down into maybe one, maybe even two shows, depending on how it goes. But other than that, dude, we're getting close to football season, man. Camps will be reporting here soon. We're going to be having we're going to pretend to watch that first preseason game, get bored by the third snap, and move on.
Oh, man, I was going to be done by the kickoff, but okay.
I always like to watch that first one, though, man. It gets me all excited. All right. We're going to end it now.
All right.